Happy Saturday, everyone. Good morning, Saturday, January 11th, 2025. Good old 710 KNUS. We are Denver's talk station. Saturday weather, 40 will be the high today. Tomorrow, 33. And on Monday, 32 degrees. Another one of these shows that I've wanted to do, and lines are already lighting up. And it's about UFOs. And coming up in the show this morning, MUFON is going to join us. And MUFON is the Mutual UFO Network, and the head of MUFON in Colorado, a woman named Paige, and Katie will be joining us on the show as well. But recently, and I think this is what triggers the show, recently, seemingly page after page, front page after front page, or lead story after lead story on the network news or on even on the one-offs on the internet, my heavens, it's all about unidentified flying objects, UFOs. And when you read their definitions, and they get down the weeds pretty good about what is what and what's a flying saucer and what is a real true UFO and what's the proof and all of it. But I wrote down a bunch of stuff last night getting ready. I wrote down principally, and everybody has a story. And I've checked with the staff, all the different guys, and just, moments ago, Caldera said yes, that he had an experience. And so are they real? Have you ever seen one? Where are they from? And it's really widespread again. And one of the times where it really does get off the ground is after the first atomic bomb, and of course the Roswell story. But are they really? Are they here? Are they fact or fiction? I wrote that down as a slide. Have aliens ever been found? There's stories about aliens being found and being on ice somewhere. I think is it Wright-Patterson Air Force Base? I think I read where they think they're there. So it is bizarre. Flying saucers, sightings of unidentified flying objects. And then when you read, get on the internet and read about Europe and read about Russia and read about China, oh my heavens. It seems like as much as, if not more than what we're watching here in the United States of America. So Central America, many, many reports. Latin America, South America, many reports, sightings of unidentified flying objects over Spain, over Africa. So I know it's wide open. I know it's one-off. I know it's Saturday, and we start with Jack. You're on the radio show. It's Saturday morning. Jackie, thanks.
Hey, good morning, Pete. We've been talking for many years. No, they're definitely here. There's no question about it. But they're not at Wright-Pat. They're not there. That's for sure. And they're not at Roswell. They're all in the current White House. That's where they all are. I mean, it's just absolutely provable.
Now be serious about it. Are they real?
No. They're figments of your imagination, the same thing that all religions are. They're just something that people don't understand, and they have to make up some kind of a story, and it has to be in the form of a human being so they can understand it.
But what are
it's just belief systems?
What are people seeing?
Who knows what they're seeing? It could be a reflection. Okay, you want me to give the, okay, here, let me go to Hemingway.
Okay.
Let me go to Hemingway.
Sure.
He says, he wrote the book, True at First Light.
Mm-hmm.
You probably know what that means, what that was about, okay? When he stayed in Africa, when he'd get up in the morning and he'd look out and the sun was out on the flat plains, and when this heat would heat up the ground and the flat plains, it would shimmer. Mm-hmm. And when you'd look at it, it looked exactly like a lake. And that was true at first light. And that's exactly what this is. All right. You got enough out of me.
No, but hold on one second. All of these now Navy pilots I've read about, and the stuff they're showing on screens where they actually follow these, where these things quickly disappear or drop into the ocean, this is all real stuff. I'm not an expert. Spent a couple of days on the internet to show prep. What is it?
Well, you've said a million times, three can keep a secret if two are dead.
Oh, indeed.
You know, if these people actually had captured physical creatures that were in Roswell, nobody could have kept their mouth shut on it. It would be out there. And one of my best friends that I grew up with, we argued about this Roswell thing from back in the 60s. And he believes it. He believes every bit of it. I say, I'm not a believer. What state is it? Wisconsin? You show us a show me state. I'm in that group, you know?
Missouri.
Yeah, Missouri. That's right.
Yeah.
Well, you know all this stuff. That's why I love talking to you. Actually, I've learned a lot from you over the years, although we disagree vehemently on a few things.
But
it's nonsense, Pete.
I'm from Missouri. You got to show me.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Let's hear what people say. I mean, it's amazing already the emails that are tracking. So here we go. All right, 303-696-1971. For whatever reason, it is amped up. And if you're watching or reading mainstream press or following the nightly news, what was all of that? And it was leading up to the holidays, drones. And you could see them. People had them. And then the government said, we don't know what they are. That was amazing. And that was, remember the other one that crossed my mind too was the Chinese balloon. Remember, wasn't there two Chinese balloons, not just one? There were two. What are all of these? And are they aliens? And have aliens been found? I spent one afternoon reading about, it's called reverse engineering, that up to a point, the world was one way. And then following Roswell, then the United States government begins to reverse engineer what they find on these UFOs. And then all this new development begins. And this is where we get, all the new technologies that make the 50s scream and make the 60s scream. So 303-696-1971, we go to Lynn. Have you ever seen one? Lynn, you're on the show.
I'm calling in because I heard John Caldera talk about seeing, what he thought maybe was his imagination. I don't dare tell anybody about this because they'll say I'm crazy.
Right.
I pretty much saw the same thing about a month ago. And they came, they flew in a formation of three in an arrow shape.
Yeah.
And at first I heard the hum and I thought, what is that noise? And so I looked up into the sky. This was at night. I looked up in the sky and I saw these three spots of light and they hovered for a while and then they zipped over to the left. They stopped there and were just kind of hovering and then they took off, but they came from the west. And they went to the southeast.
So where were you, if you can say geographically, where were you? What road?
Let's see, Highway 73.
Right.
About Marshdale.
Was it late at night?
It was about 10:30 at night.
And they suddenly, you could hear them, and then they appeared.
Yeah, I heard them first. And then I was looking around to figure out where's that noise coming from. That's when I saw them up in the sky. And they didn't just fly over. They flew, they stopped, and then they changed position and they stopped again and then they flew off.
So for all the money and what's behind the curtain in the new car, what did you see? Where were they going and where were they from?
Are you asking my opinion?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. At first I thought, oh man, was that a UFO?
Yeah.
Then I thought maybe it was drones.
Yeah. Yeah. No, listen, my daughter, she has now gotten me looking for drones, and I've seen two of them.
You have?
Oh yeah.
At night or during the day?
At night.
At night, yeah. Yeah, that would be my guess, that they were drones, but who was operating them and what were they doing?
How about when the government says they don't know? And I'm thinking these things are flying around New Jersey at night and the current administration says we have no idea what it is.
Oh, they know. They're just not saying. They know.
Yeah, see, I think that too. I think, of course, but it rips back into COVID and rips back into all the lies the government has told us. And no, seriously, I mean, they're a harbinger of some sort. I don't know what it is or what they are, but so you believe, well, what you believe you saw was fill in the blank.
Probably drones. Probably drones.
Uh,
But remember too, about 3 months ago, the balloons,
the Chinese balloons, yeah,
that
brought
were
that
flying
up.
around.
Yeah.
You know, and at first they said, well, we don't know what they are, and then they said, oh, but they're harmless. You know, they'll go away.
Yeah,
We're not worried about them.
Remember, they went to shoot them down over the country.
Right.
I said, well, shoot them down. You know, like, no, we're going to wait for them to get over the Atlantic, and then we'll bust them.
Yeah, but you know what? I'm telling you what, you know, this deep state government, they know. They're just not saying.
See, look what that reflects on. Very good call. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Well, let's see where we go next. 303-696-1971. We go to Marcus. Marcus, you're on a radio show. Good morning. It's a Saturday. Thank you.
Yeah, good morning, Pete. Hey, I work at Buckley Air Force Space Center Base.
You bet.
And it is hilarious. It's like the aliens everywhere out there, from the workstations, on the walls, bathrooms. It's like a diehard Bronco fan. It is something to see.
So what do you believe?
I believe we're not the only ones. This universe is so big.
Thank you.
We learn stuff every day. So
I believe that. Yes.
I just can't believe we're just the only ones out here.
So why do you think more recently than it seemed to be, you know, like after the Second World War, if you read about Roswell and then the first sci-fi movies hit and everything, and then it's all gone to ground. And now, I mean, it literally, I use the term front page, but it literally is now a front page story again.
I believe, you know, through the years with all the stuff done with UFOs and in series and books and everything, it's just part of the mainstay Americano. It's just all around the world. Everybody believes it's just part of our life.
In front of me, I have the reports from Morocco, French West Africa, believe it or not. Let me see what other reports we have. Spain, Norwegian. There's a Norwegian town that really got barraged. I mean, it's really going to INET. German scientist article on flying discs. East Tashkent. I mean, that's really around the world.
Yeah, it's just amazing. It's like these days don't go to the bar talking about politics, religion, or spaceships.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just part of everyday life.
So here's the money question. If they are there, where are they from?
I really don't know.
Yeah.
From their mother? That's the only thing I'd come up with.
But are they manned?
I have no idea. If everybody says they're human-like, so you know, animals are human-like. So I really don't know.
I wrote this down. Have aliens ever been found?
They did some documentaries on them, and they've shown skulls and everything. So I really don't know. Oh,
good call.
It's just one of those. It's interesting. Even you're fascinated by it.
Oh, very much.
It's just one of those fascinating things.
I've been waiting for the right Saturday to do a show like this, and this is, there's not. This is a perfect time to do this. To run this.
Yeah, and if you could ever go out to Buckley or to these Air Force base, it's just part of that lifestyle and culture out there. It's just even the patch has a spaceship on it, so it's like it's unbelievable.
No, I've never been to Roswell. I've had friends that have take motorcycle trips to Roswell, and they say it's a show to go to. Yeah,
you got to. I drove wide. I wanted to stop, but that'd be in Truth or Consequences. I wish I would have stopped. I hear a lot about that.
Yeah.
So maybe you could do a road trip up there.
Well, that's what I thought too. Get a bunch of guys go on the road, get on and set up a remote and spend the night, and then do a show. Be fun. Appreciate it. Good call.
It's just like the Halloween. You take care.
More than that, but thank you. All right, we go to Dave, 303-696-1971. Two lines are open. Dave, UFOs, are they real?
Yeah, because like you were saying, everybody's seen them. But UFO is unidentified flying object.
That's it.
So, I mean, I've seen the triangle lights. I lived in Littleton near downtown, and I looked west once and stepped out on my back porch, and I see these triangle lights, right? And they start heading north, and there's no noise. And I'm like, I walked back in the house and said, I think I just saw a UFO. Then I thought about it.
Yeah, did you keep it to yourself?
No, I told the family. I was like, that was kind of weird. But hey, I want to tell you, your intro to your show was awesome. It fires me up, man. That's good.
Oh, you're thank you.
Yeah, it's really good.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Now, remember, Trump just said, I think this week, that he's going to reveal about the drones. He's going to tell us what's up with the drones.
Jack Kennedy's murder. He's got a list of things he's going to unveil.
Yeah, it should be real interesting. But, I remember one time, too, we were walking in the woods way out there, and we had this bright flash hit us, and we got lost, disoriented. But it was like it could have been heat lightning. And now I'm out here in Weld County. I live right now. I'm out here. I'm goofing around, camping out here, Pawnee grassland, and at night you can see all the stars. You can see satellites moving. I know those aren't UFOs. Those are satellites. They move real slow. They're dim. But I mean, everybody's seen them. They got drones. They're even all the stuff they're coming up with. I mean, they're attacking Russia with drones. Russia's sending drones.
War. Yeah, the war now is a drone war. The
and now we got and then the Russians and Chinese got these missiles that are supposedly better than supersonic. So, and I heard another thing too. A dude was talking, and I can't verify who it was. He was a guy that worked at one of these bases, like out there in Nevada, and he said, all's going to be revealed in 2025. Now, whether he was saying, they have info, they have this, they have that, and we're all going to find out right about now. So who knows?
What do you think the impact would be on the world if
that's another.
Yeah, suddenly you knew you were not alone.
Now I remember I read a book called The Late Great Planet Earth by Hal Lindsey. Sure. And in there I think he mentioned that the government or people will say, hey, look at these UFOs, but are they demons? Are they what? I mean,
but remember one of the things about guys like Lindsay, when you look back over our shoulders for the last 50 years, 60 years, the lies from the federal government, the central government, whether it's been Republican administrations or Democrats, they've been consistent. They have lied to you, lied to me since, and so why would they not be lying now? If it's the statement is called, if lie on one, then would you lie on all? I'm serious about the question.
Yeah. Well, I remember once these Democrats started doing what they're doing the last 4 years, I couldn't even keep track of everything they were doing. It kept coming there. Open border, we got this.
Well, how about Bush and Cheney, and how about Richard Nixon? And I give you a list.
Oh, yeah, I did. So I hated Bush and Cheney. I didn't know. I didn't trust them.
But my point is, nobody has a jacket on the truth or on lying. It's just, it's Nietzsche's great line. If it comes from the government, just assume it's a lie.
Mm-hmm.
So
what do you think about like a Trump and Reagan kind of president? Are they independent of all this, or are they?
They're different kinds of guys. They're both very.
They're
different. They're different. They're different.
I mean,
men.
are they dabbling? Are they dabbling like with the New World Order, or are they being the cowboy like Reagan and saying no, I'm not going along with this?
Reagan didn't go along with it, and Trump isn't obviously going along with it. The last great president of my lifetime is Ronald Reagan, but
Yeah.
let's see what happens. I mean, this first 100 days is coming. A lot of promises are being made. I don't know. He's made promises about the Kennedy murder, which is one of the.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see. I mean, because
Yeah.
they've suppressed that. Good call.
Mm-hmm.
Well done, man. Good job. Thanks.
Have a nice day.
You too. We have a line open. This is, I think, is it Dick in Lakewood? We have on the line. Oh, it's Pete in Monument Hill. I apologize. Hey, Pete, you're on the show.
Morning. How are you doing, sir?
I'm good, man.
Hey, I think this has got every earmark of a psyop, in my opinion.
Okay.
Here's what I'd say is, in the 40s, we had the Manhattan Project that did incredible things with some incredibly thinking people. What makes us think that that hasn't continued in other aspects of science and physics? We know it has.
Well said.
There's billions and billions of dollars unaccounted for out of the defense budget that goes God knows where. And we already know that there are secret facilities that are testing this stuff. In my opinion, that we're constantly 30 or 40 years ahead of what we actually present as technology. We know that. I have a hard time believing that some alien spacecraft traveled hundreds of light years or thousands of light years or millions of light years, had the technology, and then suddenly just happens to crash in a New Mexico desert. I really do. I think that
there's a theory that I've read more than once that the term is called reverse engineering. I'm sure you've heard it. That
yes,
the bits and pieces or parts or whatever of that UFO become the basis for so much that is to come. Transistors are one of them. Again, it's all speculation. It's all what you say. But if you think of something as magnificent in terms of its ability to hide, was the Manhattan Project. And we now know that Stalin knew, but he knew bits and pieces of it because of the Fuchs and because of the Rosenbergs. But
but Peter, we know about places like Area 51. Apparently, there's some incredible facility on Long Island that we know about it. Here's the problem: is we don't know what they're working on. We don't know what kind of technology they're developing. And let's be honest. The Manhattan Project was what 80 years ago.
But it was accomplished.
Where else have we advanced in those 80 years? We are advancing at light speed when it comes to technology.
But the point I was trying to make is that it was accomplished. They had Alamogordo, they had Oak Ridge, they had University of Chicago. They kept all of those places under wraps, and they built that bomb. They built those bombs. I mean,
that's my point. I think, Peter, when you look at what we did as a country in the Manhattan Patch, it's just remarkable.
Oh, incredible!
We did it in, I believe, in 3 years. Correct?
Well, the FDR gets the warning from Einstein, and they go to the University of Chicago underneath the stadium, and they build the first one, 1940, late 42, early 43, and they got the bomb in 1945.
So that's my point. Is what have we been able to do? The same kind of intellectual personnel over the last 80 years. Oh. We don't know about the technology that we have right now. Again, 40 or 50 years past what we even know about that we've already developed.
I agree with you. I mean, I totally agree with you. Yeah.
I just think it's and if it is aliens, what are they waiting on? Why not come and reveal yourself?
Well,
but to sit back and say, well, they're crashing all around the world. And if you look at some of these studies, they just happen to really concentrate on developed countries, on
But
nuclear.
not, you say that, but not really. I haven't these UFO reports, and they're from all kinds of different parts of the world. A lot of it in third world Africa. They're seen. The reports are very much the same. Things are said that are much the same. Yeah, I mean, it's a great call. So far this morning, calls have been wonderful, and I, as I was hoping for, because right now, and maybe you can take this as a final question. Why now? Because it is front page, lead story. If you go on the internet, it's literally everywhere. Why have all of these stories now come back?
Again, I just look at it as a psyop. I think that I think we're trying to control what people think. We're trying to condition people.
Okay.
We're creating boogeymen out here when we don't need to. That's just my opinion.
No. It's good. It's good. You take care.
You have a good morning.
Good call. Thank you. 303-696-1971. Dan Caplis Law. It's my guy, man. Danny suggested you choose a lawyer who shares your values, because who you choose to represent you in an injury case says so much about you, everybody involved in the case. Dan's dad we've been over, talked many, many times about his dad, was a Chicago cop, about his mom. And Danny's dedicated the last 40 years of his life to helping people who are hurt in serious motor vehicle crashes. Dan's believed to be the only lawyer in Colorado history to win 5 straight multi-million-dollar verdicts in Colorado crash cases. Dan's also believed to have won the largest truck crash verdict in Colorado history. Dan Caplis Law, the official law firm now of the Nuggets and of the Avalanche. He is my friend when we had problems on some things with our family, and Danny stepped in, and the best advice ever. The Caplis Law Firm, serious firm for serious cases, accepts righteous injury cases on percentage fee basis, representing good people from all walks of life without regard of ability to pay. He is my friend. He is a good man. If you need Dan's help, call 303-770-5551, 303-770-5551, or hit caplislaw.com, CAPLIS law.com. Good morning, everybody. It is a Saturday morning. There we go. Got some UFO music in the background. Saturday, January 11th, 2025. I'm Peter Boyles, along with Adam Walker. 40 the high, cloudy and breezy. 33 on Sunday, Monday, 32 degrees. Are they real? Aliens. Have they ever been found? Have you ever seen one? And the text messaging on people that have seen them and don't want to come on the air is really interesting. It is really widespread again. And why are they there? With full lines, we go to, I hope I pronounce it correctly. Is it Cherie? Is that how you pronounce your name, ma'am?
Oh, it's close.
All right.
I'm used to it.
All right. Apologies. Thank you.
Okay. No problem. Back in 2011, actually June of 2011, my husband and I went to the Riviera Maya in Mexico.
Ooh.
Stayed at a resort. One night, we were out walking around the resort, and there were some other couples around us. And all of a sudden, just these, like, as fast as possible, these lights fly up over us, kind of pause. And that's when my husband got out his phone and started filming them. And they were bright, and they were coming towards us, and they were kind of bright red, but they weren't flashing. There was no sound, kind of pause, and then they just all took off. And some other couples around us were like, do you see that?
Yeah.
I mean, we were all just mesmerized for a moment going, what was that? So that's what we saw.
Okay, so right away, and given all your cultural background with religion or lack of religion or belief, so what were they?
UFOs.
Yeah, what happens, what I believe happens is everyone's belief systems, and there are cultural belief systems, and most people's are different. And then you plug into that, have you seen one, or you do see one? And what does that do to the chessboard in your head? Does it reset all of the pieces? Do you follow what I'm asking?
Yeah, I mean, my whole life, I've always been very interested in UFO sightings, the Roswell, Area 51,
Yeah,
all
sure.
that has been, I've watched documentary after documentary on that. I used to listen to a morning radio show when I lived in Kansas City, and a guy on there named Mike Murphy,
Mm-hmm.
he used to do mid-morning shows, and that was a lot of his topics were on UFOs and people who had called in and his own experiences. It was phenomenal to hear.
Yeah, because this plays
makes
out.
you believe.
Yeah. It plays out in people's faith. It plays out in people's religious beliefs, whether they have them or not. But the great line that the guy used earlier, I'm from Missouri, you got to show me. Well, what happens if as you and your husband are in a very interesting place in the first place, and you look up and you see them? Does that? Are you?
Yeah,
so,
well, I am from Missouri, and I did see them. So
that's what I'm saying.
It did show me. Yeah, I think up to that point, I always thought, oh, this would be so cool if this actually existed.
Well, would it be?
Yeah, I think so. I do. Because I think that they, if there is another life form, could they be teaching us something?
And as
maybe
vast,
right now they're just kind of letting us just kill ourselves here, but maybe they could offer something. I don't know.
I was lucky enough once. I have one of those or three of those moments, but I got to sit with Carl Sagan, and he had a picture that was taken by the Hubble, and it was really a big picture, and it was that color photo where they, the clouds are red, and he spread it out, and I really love Carl Sagan, and Carl Sagan said, "What more do you need?" And I've carried that around with me for 30 years. What more do you need? And I don't have an answer. But we certainly,
I do believe in God. I am Christian.
Mm-hmm.
And I do believe he made a universe beyond this earth.
Oh, please.
So how do we know that he didn't also have life forms on other planets? You don't know.
No, but one of the many theories is these are angels that are, or the bad guys, or who are they? And do you believe that what you saw was, quote, manned? There were things flying around in them?
If they were mankind, I'm wondering. I'm wondering if what has been going on that we totally do not know about.
Sure. I mean,
because that was amazing that occurred like that. I've never seen anything be able to hover like that except for maybe a drone, but they were way too big. And at that time in 2011, I don't know. I don't think they were making drones that big.
How about these
were huge.
These people that see drones now as big as RVs? I mean, that's woo. That's a big drone.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're great.
Back in 2011, though, I'm not sure.
This show is exactly like I hoped it would be. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you. We go to Dick. Dick in Lakewood. Dick, thanks. You're on the show. Good morning.
Almost didn't make it. I had a cop pull up behind me, and to be quiet, I had the phone up, and it's like, whoops, I forgot. You can't do that.
Not one-handed.
So anyway, 30 years ago, early in the morning, I'm coming out of Casper down through the Big Shirley Basin heading for Rollins. Now, I have been a jet jock, or not jockey, but just interested since I was a kid. My uncle was the second in command at Volk Field in Wisconsin. I'd been around F-89s, 94s. So you get an idea of how fast something can go. So I got nothing but a wide view, and all of a sudden, I look up, and here's Ed. From the angle of attack, he's coming not straight down, but close to it, flattens out, and at a speed that, Mach 1, Mach 2 is Mach 3 is you're pushing the SR-21. The further you're away from it, the easier it is to follow. And then he went almost straight up, rolled a little bit, and disappeared. And I'm going, ooh, we got a new toy. I could not identify. There were no markings on it because it was that far away. So I just chalked it up to, he just came down to do a little bit in the middle of what he thought was nowhere. Plus that, some guy says, hey, I saw something. Yeah, maybe you didn't. Now, my uncle flew B-24s, World War II. He saw things that they were told to.
Absolutely. You know what they were called? They were called gremlins. And they would talk, and and also the Luftwaffe pilots saw them as well.
Yeah. Now fast forward to these naval jockeys flying F-18s.
Yeah.
When like an F-16, a human pilot can handle a 9G turn. And if you ever hear one, the breathing of the guy, that's why these guys are in such great shape.
Yeah.
The objects that I saw in the heads-up display on that F-18 were making turns almost 90 degrees at a speed that I don't think we got a human that can handle that. That would be somewhat concerning.
All right, so let me, because of time, let me run the list. So you have seen one.
Yeah.
A version.
A version. I think back on the shape, that was before we were carrier testing the F4s before that. Wasn't an F4.
And it was real.
Oh, it was real. And it was fast. I mean, real fast.
Was it just a product of the United States, or you think it was somebody else?
Too far away to tell.
Okay.
No markings. Now, isn't it interesting that when you look at our F-22, the Raptor and whatnot, how close they are to, from a distance, you can't tell the difference if it's a Russian, us, or Chinese anymore.
Yeah, they all knock each other off, steal from each other. Yeah.
Yes, no question. But with the drones in New Jersey, I'm thinking, what's wrong with Area 51? I mean, the skunk works out there when they designed and came up with the SR-21 and that. They had to have some kind of secrecy. And I remember the stealth fighter, nobody saw it. And all of a sudden, a friend of mine's on a roof in New Mexico. They brought him into Holloman. And it was like, okay, we're ready to show the public.
But
and
stealth is one of the technologies that, again, people who write say is reverse engineered. That there's a break point that comes, and again, this isn't what I necessarily believe, but it certainly is what I've read, that the break point comes at Roswell. And there's some term called reverse engineering, and that they got parts of this craft, figured out what it was, and began to produce certainly different types of aircraft.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Of course, if you took that out of Roswell, there wouldn't be a gift shop in town. I've been there 2 or 3 times.
I want to go.
Like the Loch Ness Monster. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
How many T-shirts can you sell?
Yeah. It's like, I really want to ride my motorcycle and see it. So, all right, we're underway. Very good call. Very, very good calls this morning. 303-696-1971. Coming up is Katie Paige, and she is the head of MUFON. And it is the Mutual UFO Network. And they say the proof is out there. That's their slogan. So Katie Paige comes on the show. Have you ever, run down the list of things, have you ever seen a UFO? And if so, where and when? Where do you think it's from? What do you think it is? And right now, and I think what triggers the show is this is so widespread now with so many people writing about these things and headlines and lead stories. So what are they? And you believe aliens have been found, which is something that everybody runs around with. That's how we got this, and that's how we got that. I'm happy to talk today about our friends at Water Pros. And Water Pros cares about the quality of your water, which is really important. And you can remove forever chemicals and microplastics, hard water with Water Pros. Now, here's the deal. You get the whole water softener and point-of-use reverse osmosis drinking water systems installed in your home. But the first step is the free, underline the F word, free in-home consultation. What does that mean? It means they come to your home, they test your water, they answer all of your questions and all your concerns about your water. I trust these guys. And they came and they found problems, and they fixed the things are fixed. Now, Water Pros is a family-owned and veteran-owned business dedicated to providing you with the best in water treatment for less than the other guys. Go to waterpros.net today, request your free water test. They come and they'll do it in front of you. You can see what they do. 303-862-5554. 303-862-5554. 303-862-5554, and ask for the Peter Boyles special. We have a line open coming up. Katie Paige, stay here, 710 KNUS. Star Wars. Good morning. It's a Saturday, January the 11th, 2025. Good old 710 KNUS Denver Spark Station. 710 KNUS Weather Center weather. It's going to be cloudy, breezy, and 40. 33 on Sunday, Monday, 32 degrees. The topic, and it really is it's the right time to do it, and it's full line's been here since we started. UFOs, fact or fiction, and why? And the calls have been really superb. We go to Sandy in Loveland. Hi, Sandy. You're on the show. Thank you and good morning. Hi.
Good morning, Peter. We live in interesting times, and you have
It's a curse.
fascinating show this morning.
Thank you.
I do believe in the supernatural. It is all around us. And the one thing I haven't heard, I got in kind of late on your show, but John Kerry and others make a lot of excursions over to the Arctic. There is something going on there. And I don't know if anyone out there in Radioland has any idea, but there is a fascination there. And I really believe that there's something going on, but I'm gonna go to a scripture biblically about the Nephilims. They call them, or the Watchers.
Yeah, sure. Yes.
They're half demon, half human. And it says biblically in the New Testament that we will come to a point where we will live back in the days of Noah, and the Nephilims, the Watchers, will be here. And that, to me, those are those are what they would say maybe the aliens, the supernatural.
Remember,
and
Ezekiel saw the wheel.
Correct.
I mean, what did Ezekiel see?
He saw the creatures. Yeah.
I mean, that's always been that Ezekiel saw the wheel in the sky. Well, people today say, well, Ezekiel saw a saucer or a UFO.
Correct. And also Daniel, when he would interpret Nebuchadnezzar's dream when he was captured by Babylon, he had a lot of visions, and it went a lot along those lines of Ezekiel. So it's out there in front of us. We just need to educate yourself if you're curious enough.
I got 2 minutes to stay with you. So are they real?
Oh, absolutely.
Where are they from?
Absolutely.
Where are they from?
Well, people, I have been places where they are really into the Bigfoot, Sasquatch, and whatnot.
Yeah.
They're roaming around. I mean, did you ever see Fire in the Sky?
I don't believe so. No.
The loggers.
Oh, yes, I did. And the guy. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I did see that. Yes.
Oh, so if you watch that, I mean, even just for entertainment value, or I believe it happened. I believe that young man was taken, experimented on. I mean, you want to make your hair rise on the back of your neck. That's it. And I recommend do not watch it at night.
I did. I have seen that. And he comes back after a couple of days. They find him, right?
They find him.
Yeah.
He has been experimented on. The doctors cannot figure out what's happened to him. Yeah. And I think it was from a Mormon community somewhere in Arizona.
I remember it quite well.
Gosh,
you take care of yourself. Thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome,
turn
Peter.
the hour.
Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. All right. Now on the other side, the icing on the cake, Katie Paige, and she'll take calls. And she is the Rocky Mountain. Well, it is MUFON. It's a research. She's an investigator. And you can see all the MUFON stuff. And their subtitle was "The Proof is Out There." MUFON Files, and MUFON is the world's oldest and largest civilian UFO investigation research organization. And she wants you to join too, by the way, but coming up. And she's going to Zoom with us. If you're watching on YouTube, she's going to be Zooming with us. So on the other side, the MUFON folks, join us as we continue. Folks on the phone, we got jam lines. Folks on the phone, stay there. I've been wanting to do this, and particularly with everything that's been going on, The UFOs, fact or fiction? It's going to be 44 a high today and 33 on Sunday for the Bronco game. But they're playing in Buffalo. 32 on Monday, and Tuesday it is 40 degrees. We ready? All right, let's pull the plug. We come back with Katie Paige. I'm looking forward to this on 710 KNUS. Happy Saturday, everybody. Saturday, the 11th of January, Peter Boyles, 710 KNUS, good old talk station, 2025, 710 KNUS Weather Center. Weather, 40, when it's going to be breezy. The high today, 33 on Sunday. Monday, 33 degrees. This has been a remarkable show. It's sort of been in the back of my head for really started picking up when people were seeing drones and balloons and more UFOs and stuff was coming out of military aircraft, showing video that was taken. And I thought, wow, we'll pick the right day and we'll do a show on UFOs. And this is certainly the right day. I want to bring on Katie Paige. She, of course, she will let her explain about MUFON. Hey, Katie, thanks for doing this, and good morning and welcome to 710. Can you hear me? I can see her.
Let's just get her on the phone.
Try her on the phone line, bring her across. We'll do it that way. But, or do you want to take calls? Huh?
You can call.
Take some calls? Okay. We go to Frank. And Frank, you waited. Thank you. Good morning. And you're on the radio show.
Hey, how's it going, Peter?
I'm really well. Thank you.
I always go by Francis because there's so dang many Franks that call into this thing.
Most of the kids, most of the Irish kids I grew up with that had that first name of Francis, they were Frank.
Yep. Oh
yeah.
St. Francis, that's the whole thing.
That's right. That's right.
Hey, you know what I think, honestly? As far as these, I've always liked this topic because I think that it makes you really question your own existence a little bit. I really think that there's something to this, but I'm not even sure that they haven't been here the whole time. We only explore, I think there's only 25% of the ocean floor that's been mapped. I mean, we don't really know what's down there. And you see these crazy videos of the Tic Tac UFO that can seem to move through water just like it moves through air.
Yes.
And defy any sort of gravitational explanation. And so whatever these things are, whatever's going on is so beyond our comprehension. It's like us looking at herd animals. I mean, it'd be about the equivalent, trying to study a herd animal. They look at us like that. And I think it upsets the apple cart for a lot of people. I also think that we've been in probably about a 50-year softening for getting used to the idea that something else exists that's well above us, technologically and in other ways, evolutionally, everything else. And I think it all starts, I think that the media's done it. I think that, television's done it. All of these things are softening us to the blow that has to come eventually, that there's a lot more out there that we can't even really get our heads around. And
what do you think would happen to the apple cart if one landed? And
I think it would be still extraordinarily. I think it'd be much less disruptive societally than it would have been 50 years ago, but it would still be pretty disruptive. I mean, look, you've got a significant portion of listeners to this station who think the Earth was created 6,000 years ago in 6 days. Yeah. How is this going to rock their world? I mean, I can't even really imagine how things would be disrupted. Belief structures would have to be.
Oh, absolutely. Everything that I read, the big deal that I read 3 or 4 afternoons to gear up for the show, but there's cultural there's a cultural imperialism that looks at this. There is a religious view of this. There is a philosophical view of this. There is a scientific view of this. It has all these different amalgams that if you are told one thing and told things that you believe, how disruptive would this be if one sits down on the mall in Washington, D.C. and it would then it would depend on how, in what standard they come. But imagine all the things that you have been told for all the years you've been told them, and then surprise, here they are.
Oh, I think it'd be, I think there's even if we've undergone kind of a 50-year softening to warm us up to the idea of this, I don't think there's I don't know if there's any way to avoid what would be a societal, a real societal problem from this. I really think it would be tough. I think people would have very, very, it's so hard. I think human nature is just to think that you're kind of the center of the universe, that the world revolves around you. And when you find out that you're not even a little sliver of it out in the middle of nowhere.
But that was the struggle the church had in the Middle Ages when Copernicus and Galileo, and they show up and go, no, your beliefs of the universe are wrong. So the church and all of its splendor jails them.
Think about how humans, like certain people are trying to fit these things into, are they angels? Are they demons? Are they this? Sure. Are they that? Some sort of like, it's human nature to try to find a construct to get these things to make sense to people. And it's none of that. I mean, it's clearly none of that. These aren't demons. These aren't angels. And they've been here all along. And I think that we don't mean much to them.
When you read, when you read, and you think there's a model when Cortez arrives or Pizarro arrives, and this is a warlike society, the Aztecs, yet they have no idea what they're looking at. Horses, firearms, and it's one of the ways that a very small amount of Spaniards can topple this empire that has been there for, archaeologists are just starting to figure out the Aztecs have been there, were there a pretty long time. But they never saw.
I used to have a dog that in the morning would look out and see the sunrise all the time. And he would just literally look and watch the sun come up. And I always wondered, he was a nice dog. He was a golden retriever. He was a great animal. And I always wondered what's going through his head when he's looking out, seeing the sun, because he doesn't have any idea what he's looking at. He just knows it's warm and it happens every day and he somehow likes it. Yeah. I think that's about how it would be if something landed on the mall.
I mentioned,
or somebody, declared themselves.
I got to sit once with Carl Sagan. I also got to sit once, these are highlights, with Richard Leakey. And we talked about the difference between, and how many failures there were, from Homo erectus to Africanus to, they attempt to flourish and they don't, and they fail. And and he had a great line. He said, no chimpanzee ever sat on the beach in Africa and dreamt about going to the moon.
Nope.
And he said, but man has and did that. They looked at the moon and dreamt of going to the moon, and no chimpanzee ever did. He also said we smelled bad and nobody wanted to eat us. But I thought that was great. It did.
Well, that could be true. I mean, fundamentally, we are the smartest monkeys. That's what we are.
Yeah. So that's all, us and the bonobos. But we can climb. We can climb trees. We smell good or we smell bad, but babies smell good. And he had a bunch of different theories. But the one that he had was that no chimpanzee ever sat on the beach and said, "Let's go to the moon." I got the guest. Great call.
Yep.
Thank you very much. Do you want to bring her up? You want me to bring her up?
I got her.
You got her? Ladies and gentlemen, this is the highlight of our morning. Katie Paige is with us. Hey, Katie, Peter Boyles, you're on the air live. Welcome to 710 KNUS. Thanks for doing the show.
Well, thank you, Peter. It is a pleasure to be here. My, oh my, what a year we're starting off with, right?
Oh, just FYI, I've been wanting to do a kind of show like this for forever. I love shows like this, but all of these drones and all of the sightings, and everything is made front page or certainly lead story or second lead all over the internet. I should have, first of all, I'm going to ask you to do your bio, which was the polite thing to do. And then tell me why you think we're getting all this attention now.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it really started in 2017, with the release of the gimbal, the Go Fast, and the Tic Tac, and we're just having a different conversation ever since that with congressional hearings and that. So, this topic that really started for me personally in the mid to late 70s, giving away my age a little bit, but out here in Elbert County, my mother was dating a gentleman, and there was a rash of animal mutilations out there. I don't know if you remember that.
I have a story about it, but go ahead.
Yeah. So I was a young girl at the time, and we were kind of threatened and warned to not talk about what was happening out there, which is a whole other story in of itself. But for me, it just sparked an interest on what was all that. How much of it is this government black access projects? How much of this is really unknown? And I started with Colorado MUFON, and I worked my way to state director. I just recently passed the torch over. I believe in term limits. So I just got really busy with other things and other projects and started my own Rocky Mountain Ranch research for the state of Colorado and doing a deep dive in all things UAP related. And boy, is it a hot topic, like you said.
Why? Why now?
That's a really good question. It's a really good question. Why now? Why is this coming out? There's so many different theories about that, from the, maybe we made a deal with President Eisenhower back in the day and the clock's ticking and, they're coming to say hello. No. I've heard that.
I've read that.
Yeah.
So do you believe, let me back it all the way out. First of all, just do a quick bio so people get a handle on you first, if you would, please.
So Katie Paige, like I said, I had my own personal experiences, my family and I, and come to find out it's so many people in Elbert County talking with ranchers. So I got my start there, back where Linda Moulton Howe got her start. She was an investigative journalist, and
I knew her.
Yeah. Oh, you knew Linda. That's really cool. She's a wonderful woman.
Yep.
And so, I raised a family like people do and got my degree in visual communications. And I had all these unanswered questions. So joined MUFON, the Mutual UFO Network, back in 2013 and started doing a deep dive, worked my way to state director. And it's a wonderful group. In fact, they meet the second Saturday of every month. And if you're interested, it's coloradomufon.org. Every month we bring in guest speakers and they meet down there in Centennial. I have since moved up by Colorado Springs, so I'm a little further away. And so I started my own group, Rocky Mountain Ranch Research, and that you can find that at rockymountainranchresearch.org. I've written a book, Letters of Love and Light, and that is all about Dr. Leo Sprinkle, who was a psychologist out of Laramie, Wyoming, and that's Letters of Love and Light. I'm working on the new book that will have all my research about the Rocky Mountain Ranch, which was featured on History Channel's Beyond Skinwalker series.
Yeah, I was going to ask, was that Skinwalker?
Well, there's the Skinwalker Ranch series on History Channel, and they came up with a new series right after called Beyond Skinwalker Ranch. And the season 1, episode 3 is the Rocky Mountain Ranch episode, where I'm featured, and it kind of tells the story of my own experiences. And then season 2, it's episode 5. They revisit the Rocky Mountain Ranch, and season 3 will be aired this spring.
Would you take a moment? Our guest is Katie Paige. We're talking UFOs this morning, but it's turned into just what I had hoped it was going to turn into. Take a second and talk about Clearview, or the now infamous Skinwalker. What was Skinwalker Ranch about?
Yeah, so what's interesting about that, the Skinwalker Ranch, which kind of came out, in the mid 80s, where the Rocky Mountain Ranch, it was known as the Clearview Ranch back in the day with APRO. And I didn't know at the time, but the Aerial Phenomenon Research Organization, APRO, which predates MUFON, the Mutual UFO Network, actually, they were out there in Elbert County investigating this rash of animal mutilations, strange blacked out helicopters, the hum sounds, which is very similar to the Taos hum, if you're familiar with the Taos hum. So they were hearing strange hummings and bangs underground. There were even reports of crypto creatures, orbs flying off the property. The sheriff at the time, George Yarnell, and the undersheriff, Bill Wall, were involved. Numerous newspaper articles, and like we talked about, Linda Moulton Howe was out there doing investigations. So this went on from 1975 to 1978. Just things happening daily, from cows to dog to horse to sheep, and we'll get into it in a little bit. But I've kind of opened the famous Snippy case, or should I say infamous Snippy case, Snippy the Horse, 1967 September, yeah. And APRO did a deep dive, and they were on scene for Snippy the Horse out there in the San Luis Valley.
Mm-hmm.
And for 35 years, the APRO reports went missing. Well, just recently, they were acquired by the National UFO Historical Record Center in Rio Rancho, New Mexico. And if any of your listeners are interested, you can go to the nufohrc.org website and schedule a visit to the National UFO Historical Records, and your mind will be blown by the data they have. They have NICAP and CUFOS, and now they have the APRO files and original Project Blue Book. And so if you ever have a doubt that a small percentage of what we're seeing are truly UFOs, just visit that archives. But we were able to go and pull the original APRO files on the Snippy case. And we have just learned so much.
You're going to think this is, well, you may not think it's crazy. I spent the night on Skinwalker Ranch.
Did you? Did you have any experiences?
No, none. I'll tell you who was with me. The Denver Bronco former kicker, and he kicked for the Jets, Jim Turner, the late Jim Turner. We were working together. Jimmy was with, and Ward Lucas, if you remember Ward Lucas from Channel 9. And Ward's now gone, but Ward and I and JT and the late Alan Dumas from Westward, and the mutilations were taking place, and I began a tradition that lasted for 25 years of spending the night before Halloween and allegedly in a haunted house. But this was this was the first one that we had gone to. This guy had written about it, and he talked about all kinds of different stuff. And so, and so I had him on a radio show, and I said, well, could we sleep there? Could we go out and sleep? Like a wise guy, thinking he's going to say no. And he said, yes. And we all went, and Jimmy was doing sports in the afternoon, and Ward, of course, was Ward. A lot of people didn't know it, but Ward had a hobby. He was a debunker, and and he went, and Alan Dumas from Westward went, and it was someday we'll meet, and I'll tell you what a night that was. But no, nothing. I saw nothing that would. Right. But we were taken to where a bull had been mutilated on this guy's ranch, on this guy's, it was just, but it was a trigger for me to say, we should do more of this. And, and that's when I began to do that stuff. So, well,
it's interesting. I was going to say the book Hunt for the Skinwalker by Colm Kelleher, PhD, and George Knapp. There's a chapter in there called Other Hotspots, and they talk about the Colorado Ranch, which was, like we said, Clearview at the time. It is now known as the Rocky Mountain Ranch due to Beyond Skinwalker series. But that's where I first learned that there were 3 PhDs investigating the property. Dr. Lee Sprinkle, PhD, Peter Van Arsdale, PhD, and John Durr, PhD, who's a seismologist. And Peter and John are still alive, and I've been in contact with them recently. So it's just an ongoing phenomenon with still unanswered questions.
Here's the payoff on the story. Is the next morning we had it set up to do the radio show from there, and I came downstairs, and there was 3 guys sitting there drinking coffee that I didn't know who they were. And they said, "You're Pete Boyles." And I said, "Yeah." And they introduced themselves. They were from an organization called the Rocky Mountain Skeptics. And Bella, the fellow had the first name of Bella, and I can't think of his last name. And then he had his two assistants. And he said, we snuck in here last night to watch what would happen. And nothing did happen. But then we ended up, they had breakfast, and then it was clear to me that there was quite a fight going on between the skeptics and the acceptors, and that's how I dubbed it. And we would use them again. We would use them again and again and again. And
just like the infamous Phil Klass, he was a well-known debunker.
Yeah.
And that's an important part of the phenomenon. You have to have that balance. You have to go in skeptical yet open-minded. And I've always approached the topic that way. I don't just believe everything's UFO and aliens. I think a lot of it is our own. However, that being said, when you go visit a place like the National UFO Historical Record Center, there's an overwhelming amount of very credible reports. So a small portion of what we're seeing, even now with these drones in New Jersey and Pennsylvania, there's a small percentage that are unknown. And so you just can't brush it all off. Yeah.
It started me reading Carl Jung. I had gotten through Freud and Anna Freud, but I had never read Carl Jung. And then that's what triggered me into the Volkgeist and into the Jungians. And the Jungians had a whole different view of what we had been through. And
yeah, that's an interesting topic in of itself when you get into the consciousness piece and the manifesting, and you can go really deep down that topic.
Indeed.
What's interesting to me with Skinwalker Ranch and Elbert County and the Mount Wilson Ranch now are the people that are attached to it. So Bob Bigelow, who, aerospace engineer, he owned both the Skinwalker Ranch and Mount Wilson Ranch at the same time. And going into Dr. Leo Sprinkle's files, there's photographs of really interesting people from Hal Puthoff to Kit Green to Linda Howe to Bob Bigelow, Dr. Sprinkle. They're all visiting the Mount Wilson Ranch, and there's a Howard Hughes connection there as well. So you start looking at the people and the players that are attached to these high strangeness locations, and the plot thickens.
That's where I met Linda Howe. She was there. She came later in the morning, and she and Ward Lucas were friends. And that was just one of those, I've always been tempted to write a lengthy story about how that happened, but that was my first experience. And it was crazy. it was kind of, and the neighbors were there, and oh man, it was a cluster, but the right guys were there. I mean, it really was. I need to pay the bills. Katie Paige is here. Can I put her on hold if you would, please, with MUFON? And let's get back to cases, and let's talk about Colorado. I'm happy to talk to you about our friends at Water Pros. Water Pros cares about the quality of your water, and you can remove forever chemicals and microplastics and hard water with Water Pros. And you do the deal. The water softeners and the point of use reverse osmosis drinking water systems are installed. Start the process. Go to waterpros.net and sign up for your free in-home consultation. They'll come to your home. They test your water. They answer all your questions. They do it in front of you. I mean, it shows you, because, people, water's caca. And I trust these guys, and they came through. They'll do it for you. Water Pros is a family-owned and veteran-owned business dedicated to providing you with the best in water treatment for less than the other guys. And waterpros.net today and request your free water test. Just take them up on this one. It's a gimme. 303-862-5554, 303-862-5554, and have them come and make an appointment. And you go your home and their home, and they'll show you how to test the water and show you the results. 303-862-5554. Ask for the Peter Boyles special, 303 862-5554. Morning, everybody, on a Saturday, the 11th morning of January, 2025. Good old 710 KNUS. I'm Peter Boyles. Breezy and 40, 33 on Sunday, and Monday, 33 degrees on Monday. I've been wanting to do this show since all of this activity began with Chinese balloons and all the UFO sightings and the stuff that appears on TikTok. And then it started out with the drones and who was flying the drones. And the government said, gee, we have no idea about these drones. And so Katie Paige is our guest. Adam, if you'd bring her up. It's been wonderful so far. This MUFON, and she was the head of MUFON. And you mentioned something to me in the conversation when we began about something that happened. And if it's none of my business, please, that something happened to you, something happened to you and your family that triggered this. Can you tell that story or discuss that?
Yeah, I certainly can. I mean, this is the mid 70s. I'm 9, 10, 11, 12 years old during these years. My big sister and I and my mom worked in the Denver Tech Center actually for United Airlines and started dating a gentleman who owned a ranch out in Kiowa, Colorado in Elbert County. And so I did not live on this ranch property full time, but we commuted. The 2 younger sons lived with us, and we commuted back and forth to the ranch on the weekends and spent some significant amount of time there. And every time we went out there, things would happen, from, like I talked about, the strange humming sounds, the bangs. We had a really terrifying one night where all the power in the house went out. We saw the brightest light you've ever seen out through the boys' window. This disembodied electronic voice, basically, attention, we've allowed you to remain. It was a really scary night. And now looking and researching that, I mean, maybe, the property sat vacant for over 10 years. Maybe the military was out there using it. Back in the day, the Air Force Academy owned a lot of that property up through, the Black Forest and into that area. So I learned of something called plasma ball technology, where they can pipe out electronic sounding voices out into the field. So, that's always been a question of mine, how much of this was Black Access Project. And still, even with the congressional hearings, they're talking to this day about needing more transparency and the secrets that are being kept. And, we have Lockheed and Northern Grumman and General Electric and aerospace companies that have these possible back engineered technologies that they're not sharing. And I understandably, we don't want to give away all our secrets. On the other hand, we have a lot of people that are seeing and experiencing things that are unexplained. So, just a lot of activity like that out on the ranch property, very similar to the Skinwalker Ranch, almost verbatim. And let's not forget about the animal mutilations, which, interestingly enough, being on History Channel's Beyond Skinwalker has opened the door to talk to other ranchers and other families that have experienced things now for decades. And these still are going on, not to the height of back then, but we have recent mutilations. In fact, Carl, a multi-generational rancher, has cattle up in Woodland Park, Colorado, near where I am now. And for 3 consecutive 4th of Julys in a row, he's had a mutilation in the Woodland Park area. In a very interesting location where you're not going to fly helicopters or airplanes. It's by Red Rocks Campground. So it's a pretty public area. It's just right off to the side of it. But it's fascinating. I did an episode on my YouTube channel, Rocky Mountain Ranch Research with Katie Paige YouTube, and I go out to these locations and I film and talk about these things that are occurring to this day.
Have you spent any time reading about MK Ultra?
Yes, that's actually a very important part of the research that I'm doing out in Elbert County. The gentleman that lived on the ranch property of my childhood claimed to be part of the U.S. Air Command and came from San Francisco. And so we do know that, MK Ultra kind of was born out of that area. And we know there's interesting people. There's actually, in one of the reports that I pulled from the ranch, there was a gentleman by the name of Warren. His last name was redacted out, from Camp Carson. It says that he visited the ranch. He felt something wrong. Something took over his mind, made him walk towards the woods, would release him, and he would run back to the ranch house. And this did this to him 5 times. What is that about? We have these strange boxes that we're seeing there, both by a lot of the adults, by myself. I witnessed them in the daytime, and we even had the Sheriff Bill Wall witness one of these strange disappearing boxes. Is that something we have? Is that something from somewhere else? And they're reporting in other cases too, the famous Carl Higdon case, out there in Medicine Bow, Wyoming. There's so many parallels, even with Snippy the Horse. We're doing a deep dive. Like I said, we just released the APRO files, and so now we have photographs. I would like to say on air that, there was this big rumor that Snippy was actually lady. That is not true. We have the first photos of Snippy as a colt. So we have the whole provenance of his birth and all that in the photographs. And I can't wait to share that. I'll be sharing that information at Contact in the Desert this summer out in California. So a lot of information, a lot of parallels with many different cases that are similar to what we experienced on the ranch. So
last week here on the show, we spent time talking about the CIA and during the time of Alan Dulles and his brother John Foster. And that's when MK Ultra really had its roots. And one of the more significant stories is the Whitey Bulger. And what they did with Whitey, they turned, well, Whitey was already a monster, but they turned Whitey into even a greater monster. And then he became a snitch to the FBI. And then the FBI let him get away with murder. And that really runs through MK Ultra. And it's real. I mean, it's all very, very real. And it's probably one of the reasons Whitey got murdered immediately when they captured him and put him in that penitentiary. They didn't want Whitey to talk. And the things he must have known. Our guest is Katie Paige. Do you mind if we take calls? Would you like to take calls?
Yeah, I would love to.
Okay, so now you're in charge over there, Adam. Just tell me who you're going to bring on, and we'll bring them on together. Don on line 3. You're on the radio show with Peter Boyles and our guest, Katie Paige. Don, go ahead.
Good morning.
Good morning to you.
Caught the tail end of the show here. I guess you're talking about UFOs.
Yes.
So I have a question. Roswell, what really happened?
Great question. Katie, go ahead.
That is a great question, and I have a whole bookcase chock full of books about the Roswell incident. What I would like to speak about the Roswell incident, I mean, talk about the beginning of the cover-up. There is a Colorado connection to it that I've done a deep dive on. There was a general
with due respect. So, what do you feel really happened? Was it an alien? Was it the Air Force? What did they find there?
I think they found an extraterrestrial craft. I really do.
Okay.
And
so
the reason
let her answer. Okay, please. All right, Don. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. There was a General Arthur Exxon who was quoted as saying that one of the Roswell bodies was taken to a mortuary outfit in Denver. And since that time, for over 3 years now, I've been investigating a federal judge who was appointed by Nixon, who, interestingly enough, this ties to Fitzsimmons and the Lowry Air Force Base. So we do know that Lowry was sent out to the Roswell area. We do know that there's a possible body that was taken to Fitzsimmons Lowry. There was a possible Mason connection, an Eisenhower connection. It goes deep. And because of these documents that I pulled from the Eisenhower Presidential Library and just things that I've seen through the years from these aerospace companies that hide this information, I do believe they back engineered something that was unknown at the time at Roswell. I think that was the beginning of the cover-up.
All right, Don.
Are you familiar with Walter and Ramir Horton?
No, I'm not.
Okay. So I want to keep this really short, but kind of get to the point. These brothers were part of Hitler's scientists and engineers, and they had developed a wing. And after the war, one of them came to the U.S. and the other one went and worked with the Russians. My source for this is Annie Jacobson from Area 51. Don't know if you're familiar with her. I read a lot of her stuff. She really does, in my opinion, a great job of her research. And the craft that landed, according to her, was a craft that Stalin commissioned him to build. And the bodies inside were a product of young kids that were mutilated by Mengele because he ended up with the Russians, but they didn't take him to Russia. They kept him in Germany so he could do his work that he was doing. The outside of that craft had Russian writing on it, and they took that up to the Area 51. I think that's, in my opinion, very plausible, mainly because I've read many of her books, and I think her research and what she brings to the table is just totally spot on. So you might want to check into that one. It's very credible.
I've heard that opinion. And I've read that, and it's certainly plausible, and it's certainly something definitely to consider. But looking at New Mexico as a whole, in that area with the Lonnie Zamora case, and I mean, New Mexico at the time, Trinity and everything that was going on in the state, and the multiple case sightings of, I've had whistleblowers from the White Sands area, you know, watching things on radar. Now, of course, it could be Russia for sure. It could be our own back engineer things. These are all things that, as an investigator, you have to look at and consider. So I'm certainly open to that possibility as well.
We have to break, and when we come back, let's talk about reverse engineering. 710 KNUS, I'm Peter Boyles. Good morning, everyone. It's going to be 40 for a high today. You're listening to Katie Paige, and this is MUFON, and lines are jammed, and we're talking about UFOs and everything that's now being seen again. Ski resorts are experiencing better snow conditions than for the longest time. It's perfect time to consider taking your skis, your boards, tune-ups, or maybe even new gear for the holidays, and that you can get what you wanted now. Deals are on. Go get them. The best winter sports equipment. Head over to Larson Ski and Sport, located south of I-70 on Kipling. So whether you're looking to rent or buy equipment, Larson's got you covered. They're dedicated to providing you with the best skiing experience possible. The convenience of Larson's is unbeatable. It's a perfect stop on your way up or on your way down the hill. So here you are, you're westbound on I-70, going skiing, and get off on the Kipling exit. You know, your kids do it the day before. You get off on the Kipling exit, come down the ramp, make a left, and go back under I-70. Come out on the other side, look to the right, see a big wooden box building. That's them. That's Larson Ski and Sport. South of I-70 on Kipling, 7 days a week. John Marriott, his son, the guys, Paul, the guys at Larson's are absolute experts at everything you need for winter sports. Please stop in today. Now, whatever your needs are, they got. Stop in today and tell them I sent you. Larson Ski and Sport, they're big enough to handle everybody and small enough to really personalize it. South of I-70 on Kipling. So if you're coming home, you're going eastbound on 70, get off on, stay to the right, go off on the Kipling exit, stay to your right, go right on Kipling. It turns up, it's on your right side. You see a great big wooden building, says Larson Ski and Sport. 303-423-0654, 303-423-0654. 7 days a week. Stop, pop in. They're the guys. Larson Ski and Sport. We're streaming now. Everything seems to be working, so here we go. Saturday morning, the 11th morning of January, 2025, 710 KNUS, our MUFO show, right? The weather goes 40 for the high today, and then this afternoon, tomorrow afternoon, 33. Cool and dry and 32 on Monday, and Tuesday, 40 degrees. So absolutely wonderful guest. We're getting all kinds of really, really good emails sent to the show. Paige is with us, and I've had an idea in the back of my head that I wanted to do this show, particularly when things start picking up about more and more video that comes out on TikTok, especially the stuff from the Navy, the Air Force stuff comes out, commercial airlines videos come out, ground to air comes out, and then of course the using the drones, and then people talk about that the Chinese balloons, and it all gets to this moment called, or I call, out there. And so so she's with us, and somebody sent me and actually how many years, too many years of doing this business, on the hills, on Betty and Barney Hill, and the book done by Stanton Freeman. You won't believe this, but I met them. I met Barney and Betty, and I met Stanton. This first time I met Dr. Freeman. And there was a radio station here in Denver a million years ago, KWBZ. It was a little 5,000 watt daytimer, and we kind of all made our bones there. But the book was captured. And I met the Hills, and I got to tell you something. They were the first people that, I mean, you could look in their eyes, and to me, it was like they're not making this up. Have you ever been around Stan Freeman?
I have. I had the pleasure of meeting him a couple times at a couple conferences, and what a treasure he was.
Oh yeah.
And Betty and Barney Hill, and so many of these abduction cases, Travis Walton from 1975.
Yeah.
If I could, I'd like to talk a little bit about November 11th, 1975, which turns out to be a pretty important date and
Please
a mystery.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so out here at the Rocky Mountain Ranch in Elbert County, in the reports from Dr. Sprinkle, there were two, A-10 scrambled out of Buckley, which is now the Space Force, in pursuit of, quote, a UFO at night. And so I did a FOIA request on that crash that happened out there on November 11, 1975 in Elbert County. Both pilots ejected, both pilots survived. And the report, of course, a lot of it's redacted out like so many things are. But it was fascinating because the instructor pilot claimed that eight of his instrumentation lights malfunctioned, and it was a really interesting event and very suspicious to say the least. Well, at that same time, in Falconbridge, Ontario, November 11, 1975, they're watching multiple UAPs, UFOs at the time on radar. Many airmen and women are witnessing these things, are watching them for quite a long time on radar. Police officers are seeing them. So from Selfridge, Michigan, they scrambled two F-106 Delta Darts over the Great Lakes in pursuit of these UFOs. In fact, on the front page of the paper that, Air Force admits to scrambling jets after UFOs. And on that same morning, right after midnight on November 11th, 1975, Travis Walton was returned in Snowflake, Arizona. So I was talking to Travis Walton just recently this last year at Contact in the Desert, and he said, you know what else occurred on November 11th, 1975? The Edmund Fitzgerald goes down, and 29 men go missing. Now, I do believe they, in the last few years, have recovered one of the bodies from the Edmund Fitzgerald. But these four events all occurring on November 11th, 1975 is very suspicious. What was going on that date, and what were they seeing on radar?
What, given all the years that you've done this work and done this research, what do you believe?
Oh my gosh. You get right to the point right here.
Yeah.
I believe that a small percentage of what we're witnessing is unexplained and unknown. And a good case that I was just trying to see what's going on with these New Jersey drones. There was a case, and your listeners can look this up, but just on December 23rd, there's a woman by the name of Cassandra Martin, who is a flight attendant, and she is flying back to Fort Lauderdale, Florida from the Bahamas in an empty jet. So her and two pilots witnessed and filmed, and you have to see this footage, of this strange orb that is there for 45 minutes, and it's at a high elevation, way above where the jet is, but she has good footage, and it's white, it's pulsating white, and then it turns this green color, and the two pilots initially see three objects, and that's what confuses this whole drone sighting thing. So, you know, a lot of these drones seem like they're something that we have, or maybe China has, or, I mean, they look man-made for sure, they're large, but some of these things are these strange orb, and people are taking footage of these things. What are those? At the same time this is going on, there's something very similar happening in North Carolina that was caught on film, and in Brazil too, both January 5th and January 6th. So very unusual orb sightings. And I would like just mentioning the drones, you know, back in 2020, Colorado in the Northeast, do you remember all those mysterious drones? We never had answers to those either.
Yeah, one of the things that puzzles me, Katie Paige is here, is when the government pulls up a blank and says, we don't know what they are. And that experience with the Chinese balloons was, I thought that was never fully explained as well either, that they would just let those balloons drift across the country and not knock them down. Why?
Yeah, I mean, that to me is the disturbing part of all this. I mean, what's going on right now as we speak. I mean, there's so many different components at play right now where we have CGI, you have all these, you know, YouTubers out there just creating content for clicks and views and likes, and so you don't know what's real and you don't know what is, and it gets convoluted. But so just to pick apart that alone is enough to make anybody's head spin. But then you have, obviously somebody knows what these are, and that's to me the confusing and scary part, because why aren't they being coming with it when we have people saying that they're possibly out there, you know, scanning and searching for bombs.
And we're going to keep you into the next hour, but I make that list of, you know, COVID and George Bush's weapons of mass destruction, and the list goes on and on and on and on and on. And then they turn around and look at me and say, not me personally, but, you know, all of us collectively, and say, we don't know what those are. And I'm thinking to myself, you got stones, you know. All right, here's what I'm going to do. If I could, please, Katie, put you on hold, and then we need to do a turnaround. And when we come back on the other side, take calls. Lines are jammed, and this is the show I hoped it would be. By the way, we're real quick. Do these things frighten you?
What frightens me is the secrecy and the timing of all this.
Yes.
And what we're experiencing now, I mean, in North Carolina, California, that's what frightens me.
I think you're right. I think not knowing. All right, hang on. If you would, put Adam, please place her on hold. 40 is going to be the high today, 33 Sunday, Monday 32, and on Tuesday 40 degrees. We ready to break? Let's do a turnaround. We come back. I'm Peter Boyles. This is Radio Free Denver, good old 710 KNUS. Happy Saturday, everybody. Good morning. 710 KNUS, Denver's talk station. Saturday, January the 11th, 2025. The weather going to be 40 and breezy, 33 Sunday and Monday, 32 degrees. Well, all of this, again, begins on front pages and lead stories on news channels on UFOs and things that are being seen, and people call them drones. And then TikTok shows some of this stuff from Navy pilots, and it grows and grows and grows. And now answers are, we don't know. And anytime you go, we don't know, and especially coming from the federal government, I think throw the yellow flag, right? Somebody's not telling you the truth. So we put this show together, and great work by Adam Walker. Our principal guest is Katie Paige. Miss Paige is with MUFON, and she has done incredible work herself. And as we broke away, and we have jam lines, we'll go to the phones here in just a second. I wrote down a lot of questions the last couple of days. One of them is, have aliens ever been found? And the reason I ask that is there's a term called reverse engineering. So I turn that over to you. Do you believe that bodies or beings have ever been found? And two, does the United States government, and in fact perhaps the world, reverse engineer from UFOs?
Certainly, some of the declassified reports, John Greenwald's Black Vault is a great source to go to online to look at some of these declassified reports, suggest that is absolutely a possibility, that is indeed the case. Now, I have no proof of this. I don't know. What I personally believe is beside the point. I'm one of those that really tries to walk the middle of the road and stay very much grounded, and look at, all the data that we have. So yeah, it's a possibility. And as far as back engineering, I think, in the congressional hearings, and I wrote down some of the quotes. I mean, some things that Miss Nancy Mace from South Carolina, she said certain individuals didn't want to have this hearing because they feared what might be disclosed. And some of the questions, why are we spending money if there's nothing to this? Why are we paying out benefits to people that have claimed injuries from these craft if there was nothing to this? So, I think it's important, although some people say we're not making any progress in Congress with this topic, I believe that we are. We have, let's see, who was it? Mr. Glenn Grossman is pushing for transparency and saying any reports older than 15 years, it's time that those reports see the light of day. And with the new administration coming in, who knows, maybe this will be more of an interesting year than we can all even possibly imagine.
Do you believe there's been contact, either a body or face to face, if that's the right way to say it? Do you believe that's occurred?
I believe that's, again, the Eisenhower talks in population there is interesting. And I've made, because of that Denver Roswell body connection with the federal judge, which is really turns out to be quite an interesting case. And I can't wait to share with the public everything that I've uncovered at the Eisenhower Presidential Library on that case. Certainly suggests that he may have had contact. We may have had contact.
Yeah, there's a bunch of stories about an actual meeting, isn't there?
There is. Yeah, there's the whole mysterious, supposedly he went to the dentist or something, that whole story.
Yeah, well, yeah.
So, yeah.
Do you believe that reverse engineering has happened?
I do. I do. And I think that's part of why we're having these congressional hearings now is, how much power and knowledge do these private companies like Lockheed Martin and Northrop Grumman and GE and they're not accountable to anybody. We can't send FOIA requests to these companies. They don't have to really answer to anybody. And are some of these drones that we're seeing, both back in 2019 and 2020 in Colorado, of course, we have Francis E. Warren Air Force Base, another couple great cases, by the way, of multiple witnesses, multiple objects seen on radar. This happened in the 80s. And in the early 90s. So a couple cases out of Francis E. Warren and these Colorado drones that we never got answers to those. So when it comes to the drones that are happening now in Pennsylvania and New Jersey, and really there's cases all across the country and around the world. There's more eyes on the sky. I'm not feeling too confident that we'll have answers to this. We never got answers, back in 2020. So why are we going to get answers now? I don't have much hope for that.
All right, let's go to work. Let's go to Lamar in Arvada. You're on 710 KNUS. Our guest is Katie Paige. Lamar, good morning.
Good morning there, Peter. I want to talk to Katie about an incident that I had. You could say that it was close encounters of the third kind, maybe. I did see two aliens. They were 6 to 8 feet away from me. Do you believe that? Or do you think it's believe it or not?
Just tell the story. Just tell the story.
Okay. Back in Minnesota in 1961, in Anoka, Minnesota, I was on a ranch, a dairy farm, for about a year and a half. I usually would go down to the lake right by the lodge and go fishing. I do know that it was in the fall because the leaves were falling. I was not catching any fish like I usually do. I turned around and there's a alien looking right at me. He stood about 4 feet tall. He had a big head, big eyes. He was kind of grayish color. I looked further on the side of him. There was another alien away from him, maybe 15 feet away. He looked at me. I looked at him. He smiled. I turned around and walked away. I went up back to the lodge, and I was talking to my buddy in the kitchen area, and I seen 3 white lights in the horizon. This was about 1 o'clock now. When I went fishing, it was about 7 o'clock in the morning. I remember that. So about 1 o'clock, I was talking to my friend in the kitchen area. I looked out the window and I said, there's 3 dots out there. What are they? We went out there and we looked. And 3 hours passed. It was 1 o'clock, and by the time the bell rang for supper, it was 5:30. Now you tell me.
Is that is that an unfamiliar story?
It is not. It's very reminiscent of the Pascagoula, Mississippi case. Missing time is often a factor. These white lights. So to me, that's the important part of what I do at Rocky Mountain Ranch Research is to go to these archives, to listen to witnesses like your listener right now and take their information, and you can connect it and start connecting the dots to other cases. There's so many similarities. In fact, there's a new series out on Netflix by George Knapp, Investigation Aliens. And there's a gentleman, he's a 5-time rancher. His name is, let me get it, Dave Hunt. And he talks about, recent mutilations on his ranch property. And he witnessed a craft and actually went to get his gun to shoot at it. This is a very credible man. Then his son has taken footage of a big bull elk on this beautiful day. And behind the elk, you see, I don't know what it is. It's certainly not a human, but the animal doesn't react to whatever it is. It kind of floats by. It's episode 1 on the mutilation phenomenon. And it's excellent because these mutilations are amping up in Oregon right now as we speak. strange circles on the ground, just like in Elbert County. And in Elbert County, the ranch of my childhood, there was a snowless circle where nothing grew. There was snow, heavy, wet snow on the outside. And in the APRO report, it talks about there were drops of blood in the snow outside the snowless circle. And the snowless circle is 75 feet in diameter. Now, on the Snippy case, again, there's markings that measure 75 feet in diameter. This 75-foot circle is coming up over and over and over again in cases. And in this recent case here in Oregon with this farmer who's experiencing these mutilations, similar marks on the ground. So it's so important to take a look, no matter how far back they go, and make those correlations cases. So, you know, I believe that what he experienced.
So, Lamar, what do you think happened to you?
I don't know, but Tom, Peter, I've never told this story to nobody. It's just been with me all these years, and every so often I think about it, and I go back. Nothing happens or anything like that. But I want to tell you something. I was in charge of 32 milk cows. I milked cows every morning. It was a dairy farm. There was no killing of cattle or disappearing of cattle or chickens or anything like that. It's just what I seen. The aliens, and I bet $1 billion on it that I seen it. And then 3 hours of my time went in seconds.
It's a story that's been told oftentimes. Is it not, Katie?
Yeah, I mean, if you could look around the room I'm sitting in right now, is just filled with reports and books and magazines and case histories and files. So this is not an uncommon encounter.
Lamar, thank you. It took heart to make the call, and thank you so much. We'll jump to Frank. Let's go to Frank. Frank, you're on 710 KNUS with Peter Boyles. Our guest is Katie Paige. Good morning. Frank in Denver. Frank, good morning.
Hey, Katie, have you ever been on the George Norrie show? And what percentage of the people that come on there do you believe have credibility?
Yeah, I've been a guest on Beyond Belief with George Norrie twice, talking about my experiences at the Rocky Mountain Ranch and trying to make these connections. And in all fairness, I'm horrible about, you know, keeping up on, I sort of have this narrow focus on my research and the connections that I'm making both in the San Luis Valley, across the state of Colorado, and Mount Blanca, and that I don't find a lot of time to watch other episodes, but I certainly approach this topic with an open mind, and I certainly, you know, everybody has their own unique experiences, and it's not up to me to disbelieve what they're telling me. I simply take the report, listen to what they say, and put it in, you know, my whole field of where are similarities and where, you know, so I take it all in and try to connect the dots in my research that I do, but certainly, you know,
Frank, how many,
I believe
how many of those people
Gaia
do you,
TV.
how many people like,
I listen to it. I find it fascinating, but I have to apply credibility to it. So my credibility factor is about 25%. But you know, I'm not as deep into this subject as Katie sounds like she is. And two other questions I wanted to ask her. One is whether she thinks AI in the future, not the current AI, but AI in the future, will ever be of help to you in compiling, amassing, or bringing any conclusions out of your research.
Yeah, certainly AI has already helped a lot. I mean, just in the search capacities of these documents that are turning into PDF files, and, you know, we can search these much faster than, you know, a lifetime of looking through old magazines and books. And on the credibility factor, I think, you know, Gaia TV out of Boulder, Colorado was hit really hard with the fantastical stories of Corey Good, you know, and the secret space program and 40 and back again. I mean, that really hurt this topic. And it's unfortunate that there's people out there that will take ufology and turn it into these fantastical stories. It hurts all of us, and it hurts the credible witnesses that want to come forward. And so, you know, it's important. I think, you know, that 25% credibility factor it's fair. I mean, you really have to look at all of it and decide for yourself and do the homework and do the research for yourself.
Well, he goes off into things like Peter alluded to Jungian, and Jungian philosophy got into the psychic and parapsychic realm. I find Jung more fascinating as a psychiatrist than I do Freud. But, you know, the other question quickly, I know your time is short, is one on communication. You know, you see these films and you hear these things recorded about this speech pattern that the aliens have, this beep, 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 you know, kind of funny thing. And if you think about human speech, it's rather slow if you got it down to micro and milliseconds of a person has to speak. It has to be transmitted through the ear, which takes a certain number of milliseconds, and then the brain has to comprehend it and process it, and then you have to spit it back out through the same reverse pathway. So in the future, and what they're probably relating, I don't know if there's any documentation on that speech pattern, but it's electronic. It's almost telepathic from the brain of the alien to the brain of the other person they're talking to. Do you have any comments, or have you made any observations on that?
I mean, just these recent sightings of these large orbs that are spotted by very credible people and pilots. I mean, obviously we don't have little tiny aliens in there, and it seems very electromagnetic. And so there's Dr. Michael Masters that talks about AI and humans in the future, and could what we're dealing with be us from the future? And in fact, in the Rocky Mountain Ranch report, I did not witness this, but in the reports it said there were two types of ET spotted out in Elbert County: the Nordic, the tall, blonde, blue-eyed types, and these AI, almost mechanical type beings that Paul Giamatti, I was a guest on his show for a couple hours, and it's interesting how many famous people, both in Hollywood and musicians, are into this and have had their own unique encounters. Paul Giamatti having a huge interest in mind control and this topic at large, and he dubbed these guys the Tubi guys. And in the reports, I mean, it makes sense to me that possibly these electronic sounding voices that we're hearing, or the black boxes, might be connected to these AI type of hybrids. And if you think about it, you know, we would send probes to another planet, we would send AI, and is that where we're headed? And is some of this kind of a battle for where we're headed as a society, as a species?
Then on your Eisenhower connection, did you go out to the Eisenhower library in Kansas?
I sure did, and it's a wonderful place to visit. And yeah, I was pulling reports on this Denver connection, and then uncovered some very interesting things that kind of keep me going and keep me digging.
There's another Eisenhower connection here in Colorado. Have you ever been up to the 5th floor of Fitzsimmons?
I've heard about it, and the Mamie Eisenhower and the federal judge is also very interesting. So it's quite the mystery for sure.
When he had his heart attack, they brought him down off the helipad to this little emergency room where they treated him, and they still have, I think, that room preserved. It's like Art Deco. It's like out of the 50s, and he stayed there for like a month just resting, and it's pretty cool if they still have it there.
We're going to pull a pin. Frank, as always, anybody reads Carl Jung, you're welcome here. I appreciate it. Thank you. If you would, Katie, hang on. 710 KNUS Denver's Talk Station. It is 23 after the hour of 11. We'll be here till 1 o'clock. We'll finish up with Katie at noon, and we'll go to open lines from noon until 1. I'm Peter Boyles. Good afternoon, not quite afternoon, but good morning, everyone. Danny Campos' law firm. He's my good friend. And Dan suggests that you choose an attorney who shares your values, because who you choose to represent you in an injury case says so much about you to everybody involved in the case. Dan Kaplan is the son of a police officer. He's also former seminarian. We talked about it. Danny's dedicated the last 40 years of his life to helping people who have been hurt in serious motor vehicle crashes. He is a good man. He's a good friend. We went through some stuff with my family, and he was there, John on the job, man. Dan's believed to be the only lawyer in Colorado history to win 5 straight multi-million-dollar verdicts in Colorado crash cases. Dan's also believed to have won the largest truck crash verdict in Colorado history. That's incredible. Dan Caplis Law, the official law partner, the Nuggets and the Avalanche now. His firm is a serious firm for serious cases. If you have a problem, Danny accepts righteous injury cases on percentage fee basis, so he can represent good people from all walks of life without regard to ability to pay. Talk to him. Make this phone call, 303-770-5551. You will hear right back, 303-770-5551, or hit dancaplisLaw.com. Danny's last name is CAPLIS Law.com. We have one line open, 303-696-1971. Our guest is Katie Paige. It is a great Saturday morning show. This is 710 KNUS. Close Encounters of the Third Kind. What a great film. It's a Saturday, January the 11th, 2025, 710 KNUS. This is a show I've wanted to do now for quite a while on UFOs, and we have a wonderful guest, Katie Paige, and 40 will be the high today, but it's been more than that because things have really, really, really amped up. And Katie, do you ever, and thank you, Adam, for playing that, do you believe that there was ever anything like the ending of Close Encounters where human beings were set and met aliens in a group that size? Do you believe anything like that ever happened?
Maybe not that Hollywoodized, but I love 1977 Close Encounters of the Third Kind. I think I was the only kid that thought it was a documentary at the time, because there I am going through the High Stranges Ranch in Elbert County, and in the film they show the mutilated animals and that, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is my reality right now. So I kind of chuckle about that a little bit. But just like so much of what we absorb, it's sprinkled with truth, one topic that always comes out is, the Richard Doty's and, the Dulce base and disinformation. And like any great lie, you sprinkle it with some truth. And I think that was the case in Close Encounters of the Third Kind. There was some truth in there.
Yeah, I've often wondered. He must have had one hell of a screenwriter to do that. And of course, he's brilliant anyhow, but they made those films, and Close Encounters was just an amazing film. And you think to yourself, I wonder if it ever happened, if they really did it. Do you think do you think our government has set times or set moments or encounters with alien beings?
Well, something is being hidden and covered up. And to my point, there's a gentleman by the name of Earl Grey, and his mother was a secretary for Howard Hughes. And she claims she was taken to this underground base. And interestingly enough, as fate would have it, I'm talking to Jeff McBurney out there at Mount Wilson Ranch and making the Bob Bigelow and the Skinwalker Ranch connection. And right there, Howard Hughes kind of owned that whole area of Pioche, Nevada, which is right by Area 51. And he has a runway right by Mount Wilson Ranch. And there where they're doing the digging, just like you see on Beyond Skinwalker, they're pulling up ornate, like concrete lamps that look like they should be like in Paris, France or something. And according to Earl Grey, and his mother disclosed that she went down this elevator shaft. It gave her butterflies in her stomach. This shaft went so far down underground. And she said they were riding around on golf carts, and there was even like a barber shop down there. So people are spending time underground. And that location could very well be at Mount Wilson Ranch, right outside of Area 51. Certainly a Howard Hughes connection and the back engineering. We do know that Howard Hughes worked with Lockheed Martin and other aerospace companies to design his new aircraft. So all these interesting connections, and it makes me wonder what maybe he, meaning Howard Hughes, was privy to and what he knew. And was that part of his demise in his later years? I don't know, but there's certainly interesting connections being made to some of these key people in our history.
We go back to the phones. Frank in Evergreen, you're on 710 KNUS with Peter Boyles and Katie Paige. Frank, good morning.
Hey, great show, Peter. Great guest.
Thank you.
Quick question. An hour ago, Francis called in and said this would be the demise of Christianity if once the truth comes out. Do you believe that?
Not necessarily, no. I mean, I've always, I'm a person who is very spiritual in nature, and, I've had people come up to me and out of concern for what's happening on these ranch properties, in a spiritual sense. Is it negative? Is it positive? But I've always protected myself with white light and positivity and good intentions. And I would say that, if the Creator created us, he created the universe, and it's not just limited to humans. So I just feel like people as a whole can handle this. You hear the whole adage that we can't handle the truth. Well, I think we can, and I think people would adjust in knowing.
But to both of you, Frank, to you first. There's some, the establishment culture And I brought this up earlier before Katie came on the show. What do you think what shock waves would that send in to all of it?
Well, I don't know. Christianity survived quite a while with many shock waves. I don't think this would be any different. I love your answer, by the way. It was I'm a Christian. I'm a believer, and I couldn't agree with you more. But here's the thing: is I'm really looking forward to in about 9 days when the books are opened, and I hope Trump does that, because I'm not one of I want to know the truth. I don't really. I can live with the truth. So
but you remember the great line: "You can't handle the truth."
I know. I can. At this age, I can. Maybe 50 years ago, I couldn't.
That's a great answer too. I mean, I feel the same way. When you hit a certain number, you can tell me anything. I
want to believe.
Yeah, I can roll with it. Yeah, but there are all these different levels of us, and we were talking about Carl Jung and Anna Freud and Sigmund Freud, and talking about Joseph Campbell, and talking about all of these, Victor David Hansen. And would there be a shockwave? Oftentimes when the church is confronted, the church struggles. And it's true in dominant government situations, the People's Republic or any place like it, North Korea, that something like that they would have to almost keep out of.
Peter, to answer your question more directly, when you say the church, I'm sure you're referring to the Catholic Church. I'm not Catholic. I'm LDS. But the truth is that, I mean, I'm still baffled how the church, your church, Catholic Church, survived the issue with the child abuse and all that. I mean, I'm in amazement on that.
But so are, it happened to the Boy Scouts. It happened to a number of organizations. The power, and that's one of the parts of culture, if it is to survive, it will. And your point's well taken. The same thing was true. We were talking earlier when people like Copernicus or Galileo show up, and they discuss a universe that's absolutely totally different than the church's version of the universe. And there's been time and time again in history that people fly into the face of the church. Martin Luther, Henry, they fly into the face of the church. The church was used as a weapon in segregation, and the church was used as a weapon to begin integration. So,
I'd like to make one last comment.
Sure.
The church is made up of human beings, just like you and me, and they have our same flaws. So take that for what you will. I mean, all those humans have the same flaws, including us.
Well, I'm the most flawed human I know, but that isn't. But people speak.
That's because you know yourself best.
Well,
and I have to agree with that.
But people
not that you are, but that I am.
Yeah, but people that speak with infallibility, that just up until a recent time, remember the Pope spoke with papal infallibility. He was right because he said it, because he was the Pope. And we have that situation in many ways in government, that they say it's true, and they're caught right now. First of all, I love this call. They're caught right now with these UFOs. I'm going to jump back to Katie. It's so hard for me to believe that when the government official spokespeople for the government come out and say, we don't know what those are. And I start laughing. Of course they know what they are. Or is it so bad that those things are floating around New Jersey and New York, Kate, and also to Frank the caller, that they really don't know what they are?
I think it's a mix. I
Okay.
think there's a small percentage of these really great captures now on video from pilots and others that are seeing these strange orb-looking things and drones that have the lighting configurations. But the FAA, actually, they issued a temporary no-fly restriction of drones in the area, I think, until the 19th of this month, and we're still seeing things. So I think it's a mix of they do know what they are, and there's a percentage that they have no idea. And when it comes to disclosure of the truth, it's debated how many people might be privy to what's really going on.
Yeah.
But there's also the theory that we're not being told because what the truth is could be so shocking and awful that they don't want to disclose the truth.
All right, Frank, what do you think? I mean, it's the same question to you. What do you think would happen? Is he still there? Frank's gone. We lost Frank, the caller. Do we want to do a next call? Do you want to do a break? Kate, I'm going to take a break. Katie Paige is here, just a wonderful guest from MUFON, and we're talking about, are they real? And all the stories now that are floating around out there. Have you seen one? Where are they from? And, we'll continue in open lines in the next hour as well. But have aliens ever been found? Do you think that there's ever been contact? David Ellis in Cherry Creek. You've heard me talk about David so often, taking valuables to David Ellis, fortunes in cash, and, not that far away is graduations and Valentine's Day right around the corner. And then weddings come up, or just want to give somebody something nice. To secure an appraisal from David, if you need money for valuables that you have tucked away in your home. It's true. So let me show you other reasons to see David. You just in case you don't have a Rolex watch, a rare coin, or a silver tea set, go to David Ellis for all of your meaningful gift-giving occasions. David's my friend. David Ellis jewelers have been just the right item, just the right place, just the right time, special people, things that mean the most. An antique watch, an emerald pendant, a gold necklace, a diamond ring. The trusted jeweler's been buying precious metals and antiques in Colorado for decades. Dazzling cases filled with hundreds of new and used pieces for loved ones that they will treasure forever. Visit David Ellis Jewelers. See for yourself. Look for the black awning on the corner of 3rd and Clayton in Cherry Creek. 6 days a week, he's there as we speak. Explore DavidEllisJewelry.com. You can look at him on the internet or talk directly to him. 303-322-8779. 303-322-8779. You tell David Peter Boyles sent you. It is a Saturday. Now it's almost Saturday afternoon. Good morning. The 11th of January, 2025, 710 KNUS. I'm Peter Boyles. Good to have everybody here. It's going to be breezy and 40, 33 tomorrow and Monday, 32 degrees. We have this really special guest, Katie Paige, and we're going to make a move to keep her a little bit into the 12 o'clock because of a caller. So if you would set this up, Katie is our guest, and we go to, is it Rick that we go to? Rick, and Rick's on line one. Hey, Rick, thanks. You're on the show. We're going to stretch it out a little bit because of the impression that you made on Adam. So you're on the air. It's all yours, sir.
Yes, sir. Okay. First of all, I want to thank you for an incredible show today. I really mean it. This has been beyond my expectations. I know. I'll tell you what. I listen to you almost every Saturday, but here's the but. I usually pick up an hour and I'm gone. I've been listening to you since 9:15 this morning, and I got to tell you, all I could say is just amazing. And here's what happened. Listening made me decide to talk to you. I normally don't discuss what I'm about to because I've done it a couple times and people look at me like something's wrong. In 1959, I'm one of those people, I finished high school a year early. I was in boot camp 8 days after my 17th birthday. And I finished boot. Then I went to 6 months of school in communications. And then I got sent out in the middle of the desert. And the closest town was El Centro, California, which is about 120 miles east of San Diego. And El Centro was 9 miles away. And because I didn't have my top, I hadn't even gotten a security clearance yet. Eventually, I got a top secret to do what I needed to do. But before that, I'm just doing all the crap jobs. So I was working in, I'll call it a shack, a building on the edge of the base. And behind the building was the base. And then I shouldn't say in front was the base. And then behind was miles of empty desert. And I was working midnight till 7 in the morning. The phone rang, and it was Norton Air Force Base. And again, this was November, December 59. I can't remember the month. I really don't know. Anyway, and it was Norton Air Force Base in San Bernardino. They were quite a ways from where we were. And then they had the Marine Corps Air Station at Yuma, Arizona on. And in both cases, they had their control towers. And they wanted the control tower, but I said, these guys are sleeping. So, I'm not waking somebody up unless I really need to. So they told me to go outside and take a look up in the sky. And I'm not joking. There was this golden ball. It was like a baseball. It wasn't a flying saucer or anything like that. It was like a golden baseball. That's the only way I could describe it. And it's moving across the sky, but it was right where I was. And it wasn't like way up there. This was low enough to distinguish things, I guess you could say. And they kind of triangulated or locked in on the position. And again, I was right there. And I wasn't the only one. There was another guy I was working with, and we both saw it. And it finally moved away, went back inside, got to work, and I got off work at 7 in the morning, and a person, doesn't have to go into who, comes up and says, "You never discuss this, ever." And I said, okay, no sweat, I won't. And to me and the other person I was working with. So I waited years, and I finally tried discussing it with a couple people, and I got the weird look, and then I just shut my mouth. I decided I'm not going to talk about it. So what do you think, Katie?
Well, I think, for 1959, I've heard reports like this before of exactly what you're describing. And to me, it sounds like a probe of some sort. They're certainly interested in our military bases. We know about the Malmstrom event and others where nukes are shut down. There's a great book, UFO and Nukes. Highly recommend reading it. Another great book if this is the Triangle book from David Marler's. But definitely there's something going on around our military bases, not only in the United States, but worldwide. And they're certainly interested in that. So it sounds like you witnessed some sort of probe of some kind, scouting things out.
How long?
What are we up? Are we developing?
Rick, it's Peter.
Say that again, please.
How big was it?
It was, I got to tell you what, it wasn't small. I don't, Peter, this is so many years ago.
I understand.
You know, I'm not going to, I'm not going to say something that I don't remember.
Was
it was big.
Was it beach ball size or bigger than a beach ball?
Bigger than a beach ball.
Wow.
I mean, this sucker was, I'll put it this way. When you're looking up in the sky, this was a large object. And also, I should have clarified something. It wasn't making all kinds of weird movements like jumping up and down and all that stuff. It was just moving across the sky. And to me, it was slow. That's all I can say. And again, you guys are one of the few people I've ever discussed this with.
You said it made no noise and it just.
No, sir.
And you think you were being scanned?
No, I at that time, you know, I was 17 years old.
Sure.
I didn't think, I got to tell you up front, I was scared.
Well, it had to be. There's nothing,
you know,
there's no shame in that, believe me. So the outcome is an officer comes and said, you didn't see anything?
Exactly.
So you didn't
and then what happened? This right into the beginning of the year 1960. The kind of work I did was classified kind of work. Not when I saw this object.
Mm-hmm.
And I was given the papers to fill out for my top secret clearance. And over a period of months, I got different levels of clearance, and then I never did the old work again. I did something else. Okay.
I appreciate you sharing
truly,
with us
truly.
this information.
The fellow that was with you.
Yes, sir.
Do you ever stay in touch with him?
No, I got to tell you, I can't explain the feeling I had other than fear.
Oh.
I don't know any other way to say it. And once it was over and they told me never to discuss it,
that was enough.
He and I never discussed it again.
Sure.
I didn't want anything to do with it.
If you've ever been really afraid, then you know the feeling. And
yes, sir.
Wow. Call of the morning. Thank you.
Well, Peter, I want to thank you. I don't know if I've ever called you. Maybe I have years ago. I don't remember. But I normally listen. I don't call in. But there was something listening to you and Katie that opened up my heart, opened up my feelings where I'm saying, I'm going to tell somebody about this. And the cool thing is telling you I'm not in front of anybody and nobody can laugh at me.
Yeah.
You know, anyway, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing
that morning. Kate, how's your time? Can you hang with us?
I'm fine. Yeah,
okay.
I'm hanging.
So again, take a quick, for the folks just joining us, talk about MUFON, what MUFON is.
Well, MUFON was started in 1969. They're what they like to say is we took over when Project Blue Book quit. So they've been around a long time. It's the Mutual UFO Network, and Colorado MUFON is, very, very active and has a great group. It meets the second Saturday, and you can go to Colorado MUFON, MUFON.org to find out what speakers they have every month. But it's a great group of people that get together and share and discuss and watch presentations, and they're just trying to figure it out like the rest of us. So it's a good group. They're very active, and MUFON is worldwide. It's a worldwide organization. And like I said, I passed the torch, term limits, and handed it off to Seth Feinstein, who is now the state director. I was a state director for a while, but life got busy for me and doing some of these shows and things that I'm doing. And It's just a great group. So if you're interested in the topic, I recommend checking them out, as well as the National UFO Historical Record Center out there in Rio Rancho, New Mexico. It's a short, 6-hour drive for us here in Colorado to go visit that. So if you have an interest and you want to see this mind-blowing report from very credible people, I recommend that too.
We have full lines and put you on hold, and we'll gear it up. So Katie Paige is on hold, and the demand is great. It's a lot better than just having me on this end of it. She's the best. 40 will be the high, and tomorrow, chilly afternoon, 33 and 32 on Monday. It is going to be on the afternoon when we turn. Folks on the phones, please stay there, and Katie Paige will return with us. I'm Peter Boyles. Adam Walker's got the switch. Right back after this. Hang on. It's a Saturday. It is, we are, and good afternoon, everyone. It is a Saturday, the 11th morning of January, 2025. I'm Peter Boyles, 4 minutes after 12. Our phone number, lines are jammed, 303-696-1971. And this has just been an incredible show. It goes back into I guess for years and years and years, but in the last year and a half when TikTok starts to show these videos taken by Navy fighter pilots and Air Force fighter pilots and commercial pilots, and things are being seen. And then it begins with those, and the part of it was when the government said, we don't know, when they were flying drones, and it just got into insanity. And it comes back really in the headlines again. They call it third story, second story. There'll be a, off the front page, there'll be a story. And I wanted to put a show together, and great work by Adam Walker. Adam contacted Katie Paige, who is with us now with lines being jammed. We'll go to the phones, but I want Katie to do this. She's been working all morning with us. Would you plug your television show and also how people can get in touch with you? I should have done that, and I'm sorry.
Oh, no, that's great. I'd be happy to. So you can find me a few places. I started up RockyMountainRanchResearch.org, and I started a YouTube channel. And I started that because I was doing a podcast for a while for KGRA, and I decided I wanted to go out on the field. So I put together these short videos on my YouTube channel, which is Rocky Mountain Ranch Research with Katie Paige. So if you could go hit that like and subscribe button, it helps me out a lot. But I go on location. I just did a very fascinating interview with the Millers, Tom and Sally, who are ranchers out there in Trinidad, Colorado, and have had multiple phenomenon. Not only do I touch on animal mutilations, but all of these hitchhiker effects too, the high strangeness stuff. So, I went to Medicine Bow in Wyoming and went to the location of the Carl Higdon site. So it's kind of like following me along with trying to answer questions to what was happening out there at the Rocky Mountain Ranch, and is still happening to this day. You can also find me at Katie Paige, and that's Paige, katiepage.net. That's my website to kind of keep up with what's going on. I'll be speaking at the Alien Explorations Conference in Albuquerque, and that's April 4th through the 6th. Again, a short drive for us here in Colorado. And I will be at Contact in the Desert speaking, and I will be talking about the big Snippy case from 1967, and showing photos that have never been seen before, showing maps and new information through the APRO files, pictures of Snippy as a cult, and correcting wrongs that were, through the decades.
If you don't mind, tell for the folks that just heard the name for the first time. I've long read the Snippy story. Tell folks that story, if you would, please.
Yeah, Snippy the Horse was really, we go viral today, things will go viral videos. Well, this was the second most viral newspaper or case in the country and around the world. Snippy the Horse happened out in September of 1967 in the San Luis Valley. And it's a case that's really fascinating because it's still unsolved. The photographs that we just uncovered from the APRO files, they show the Chaco brushes that usually grow 5 feet were knocked down, indentations in the ground, this strange ooze, even a possible tool, multiple UFO, UAP sightings in around the San Luis Valley and Mount Blanca at the time. So Snippy the Horse, unfortunately, was an Alamosa colt, 3 years old, never been chewed. The carcass, from the neck up, was removed, basically cauterized, the brain cavity completely gone, organs gone, no blood, no animals approached it. The things that we've uncovered just recently on this case, I can't wait to share it at Contact in the Desert because it's just mind-blowing. And it's still a case that is left unsolved. So much was going on in that area, and it's still really active to this day. And Carrie King and the King family are putting together wonderful dark sky events out there in the San Luis Valley in the future. So, it's something that is a fascinating case, and it really started the whole animal mutilation phenomenon in general, and it's just taken off from there. So
what relationships do you find between bureaucrats and elected officials and people like yourself or people who have had an experience?
You know, coming from the background I do with the ranch and that, I'm very skeptical of what we're hearing. Of course, I pay close attention to the congressional hearings and what's being done, and I think we're making slow progress. But again, I'm not overly trusting. And case in point, these drones in New Jersey, we're not being told the truth, and that's concerning to me.
To me, I mean, that really was the straw that broke the camel's back to do this show, when authorities in New Jersey would say, I mean, I don't know how many people saw objects in the sky in New Jersey, literally hundreds. They have video and they showed them to people. They've been on network television shows. And then the government officials say, we don't know what those are. And I'm really taken back by that. Wait a minute. This is, you know, when was it Joe Biden that made the wise guy remark from the Iranian mothership? And I thought, that's just not funny, Joe.
It's not funny.
No, I mean, Joe's not a funny guy, but that certainly wasn't funny. And I'm thinking, people don't know what's over their heads at night, and the government won't give anybody any restitution and say, oh, well, those are fill in the blanks. They say, I don't know. I ask you this question before we go to the phones. Do you believe the government knows what those drones or whatever those things are flying around? Do you think they know what they are?
Yeah, certainly they must. I mean, we have FAA regulations for drones, you know, so they must know for sure. And I just wanted to say too, really quickly, I wanted to share something that's kind of interesting. Every month, MUFON, the Mutual UFO Network, gives out their sighting reports by state. Now, typically sighting reports, one thing that these drone sightings has done, we have a lot more eyes on the sky, a lot more reports coming in. Typically the reports, you know, are comparable to the populations of the city. So like Florida had 40 sightings, California 31, Texas 29, Pennsylvania 25, Missouri 23. New Jersey took number 6, which with 21 sightings coming into MUFON for December, which for the size of the state is a huge number. Colorado's down there at 15. We're kind of average at 12 sightings, 12 to 15 a month. But for New Jersey to be number 6 in the nation for sightings coming in, people are seeing things. And like I said, some of them definitely are man-made drones. Some of them are not. And what's being captured from some of these pilots of these strange orbs that are changing colors and zigzagging and maneuvering ways that we can't. What are those? I have no idea, but it's certainly compelling. And I think this year will turn out to be a quite interesting year.
Back to the phones. We go to Mike on line 2 in Aurora. Mike, you're on the radio show. Good afternoon. Our guest is Katie Paige.
Hello, Peter. Great show.
Thanks.
Parker in Havana, basically. One night we were standing there, and it was just dusk, okay? And me and a coworker, and I caught something out of the corner of my eye, and it was moving so fast, and it was treetop level. And when it went over, because I did catch it, and the body of it was the size of a Volkswagen Bug. And then it had all the wings. It was a drone. It was definitely a drone, but it was going so fast and it was headed towards Centennial, which I live out here by Buckby, and there's a lot of fun stuff that goes out there. But we looked at each other, and I didn't believe what I seen. And he looked at me with his mouth open.
How did you know it was a drone?
Because I seen the 4 propellers.
Okay.
I did see that. It was going by fast, but I did see enough of it that I knew what it was. You know, my neighbors drive them or fly them and goof off. But anyways, it was that big. And it was treetop level. And it was right at dusk, which I'm thinking to myself, they wouldn't fly that in the daylight. So it had to be moving so fast
that they came around, and I'm thinking Buckley because I've seen some stuff out there at Buckley. I'm close to it, and that was it. And I didn't hear it coming. And when it went over, it was just like air, just air.
Well, that's what and if you would jump in, Katie, but that's the reports in New Jersey that these things are as big as people say RVs or SUVs, and they don't make any noise. Katie,
That's right. That's right. And there's so many rules and regulations. I mean, we now have rules that these things are tagged, which actually that FAA rule came from the unidentified drone sightings from late 2019 into 2020 out in northeastern Colorado, where, the FAA put those rules into place where, these are registered, licensed, flight restrictions, so they can only fly, 4,000 feet above the ground and things like this. So somebody knows something and they're just not being forthcoming with it. Colorado is a fascinating place to live for these types of phenomenon. We have the reports now from December 4th of these missing cows. Have you heard about this?
No.
187 missing cattle out by Montrose.
Say that
they
again.
Still can't find. There's 187 missing cattle outside of Montrose as we speak right now, reported December 4th. They're trying to locate these animals. This says 166 of them were calves. The remaining 21 were full-grown cows. These ranchers out in this area cannot find these animals. They're just gone. Now, did people come and just steal them? They're all tagged. They're registered. I don't know. Colorado's an interesting place.
Wow. Michael,
am I still on, Peter?
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Oh, no. Yeah, I believe what you're saying, because that drone that I seen, which nobody believes me, but me and my buddy, but that could pick up a cow. I guess that's a new way to rustle, but
not 180.
It could pick up a cow. It was fast enough and big enough, strong enough. I don't know what it could do. I don't know.
Thank you.
But I did.
No, this has been an incredible show. This thing is, when you listen to people's voices, you can kind of hear a hollowness in it and I haven't heard that this morning. I've heard people speak their minds and now, their sense of it. Good call. Do we go to the next Michael down below? Michael, next Michael, you're on the radio show. Good afternoon. Our guest is Katie Paige. Thank you. Mike?
Hello, I'm Mike. I guess that's me.
Guess close enough.
Yeah, good morning, Peter. I was kind of, as I've been listening all morning here, one of the things that question was asked is, how would the church really handle these things if the truth came out? And I kind of thought I chuckled and thought that was somewhat bizarre and fantastic of a question from the standpoint that Jesus said, I will build my church. He's the one who gave the definition of what the true church really is, not as an organization, earthly organization headed by a denomination or a man or something like that. But he said that the church, he said, I will build my church and the gates of hell will not prevail against it. And he defined that as all those who are born again by his shedding of his precious blood. And that's the story and theme of what the whole Bible moves toward down through history. But not only Jesus himself, but also other sources who would have to be considered quite credible are Paul the Apostle. You mentioned earlier in your program Ezekiel, Daniel, and also the Apostle John.
What would it do to Buddha? What would it do to Buddha? What would it do to Muhammad? What would it do? I mean, it's if this would happen, it just would not happen in one church.
Yeah.
This would be worldwide. Plus, I mean, all the hundreds of decades of war between countries over ideologies. I mean, all of these things kind of don't. I turn to Katie here. Don't they kind of get thrown in the trash heap?
Well, I don't know about that. History is history, and I mean, I guess the hope is, for me personally anyway, let's say we had a disclosure that we are not it in the universe. I would hope it would bring people together rather than separate and divide. But who knows how people will react?
That's right.
Yeah.
I mean, the "see, I am right" part of this. I've really spent most of my time thinking about what would happen if somebody does appear, or some things appear, and the culture that we all share. It isn't necessarily non-religion, or it isn't necessarily religious. It is nationalism. It is this, it's that. It has all of these components, and it seems to have, decades, hundreds of years to bring us to this point. And then all of a sudden, all the things that are believed to be, and all of the points of where we allegedly are going, get blunted. And here are these people, and they're saying, or these beings, who suddenly, my grandmother always talked about the fly in the ointment, but that really is the fly in the ointment. I understand your call, and I really like it, Michael, a lot. But there's yeah, sure, of course.
Yeah, can I say one more thing?
Of course.
Yeah, one of the things that Jesus, he said that, beware to entertain strangers, because some have entertained angels unaware. And Paul the Apostle, and not only in Ephesians 6 and 2 Thessalonians, he talked about the fact that there are principalities, there are powers, there are rulers of darkness in the present world. And he said that will go on through history. Jesus said there will be many who come and perform miraculous signs saying that they're him. But also, I mean, everybody knows that, familiar with the teaching of the Antichrist coming, but in actuality, it says there will be a time when a man comes on the earth who can perform lying wonders that could deceive the entire elect. So I don't think.
No, it's a great call. Your call is well received. That's what I'm talking about. If any of this is true, it is indeed the curveball. Great call. Katie, hang on. 710 KNUS on a Saturday afternoon, 40 the high, 33 tomorrow, and on Monday it's 32 degrees. I begin my career as a volunteer for the NSCD on Tuesday, and I've been looking forward to getting some time. And the National Sports Center for the Disabled at Winter Park it's a one of a kind. And the ski resorts right now are experiencing better snow conditions. Maybe I get an afternoon and try and make a couple runs, making it a perfect time to consider taking your skis and your snowboards and get in for a tune-up. And the stuff that you did not get for Christmas, the new gear, things are right, the pot's right, the best winter sports equipment. Head over to Larson Ski and Sport. John Marriott, his son Jack, Paul, the folks who work there are just the best. So whether you're looking to rent or buy equipment, Larson's got you covered. They're dedicated to providing you with the best skiing, boarding experiences possible. Helmets, goggles, warm gloves, everything that you need, everything that you want. All the new skis, new bindings, same thing with boards. The convenience of Larson's is unbeatable. The perfect stop on your way up or your way down. So you're saying, okay, I'm taking it. You go westbound on I-70. You get off on the Kipling exit, come down the ramp, make a left, go south. You go right underneath I-70. You come out on the other side, look to the right. You'll see a big wooden building. 7 days a week, Larson Ski and Sport. Coming east, something has happened, so you want to make a stop. Get off on the Kipling exit, just stay to your right, makes the bend, look to your right. You'll see the big wooden building, Larson Ski and Sport, there they are. Whatever you need, repairs, tunes, it just doesn't matter. John and the team are the absolute experts in everything you need for winter sports. Now, rent. We just got done. We rented skis for my grandson because the way that kid's growing. So next year, this time, you got to rent again, but it's better. So Larson Ski and Sport, south of I-70 on Kipling, 7 days a week. 303-423-0654. 303-423-0654 or larsonsport.com. Good afternoon, everyone. 710 KNUS, Denver's talk station. I'm Peter Boyles on the 11th. It is a Saturday of 2025, and we are going to lose our principal guest. She has been wonderful. It is Katie Paige with MUFON, and I know that she needs to do a lot today. But I got to tell you, Katie, you made this whole thing work. Well, just what a wonderful job you did. Thank you.
Well, I appreciate you giving me the time, Peter, and I'm glad the weather's going to cooperate, as tomorrow I'm headed out to the American Heritage Center to do more research on the Snippy the Horse case. And again, it's my pleasure being here. I really enjoy talking to your listeners and talking to you. You're certainly a wealth of information and experiences yourself. To find that you visited the Skinwalker Ranch is exciting, and I want to learn more about that. So I hope we can talk about that sometime in the future.
We would have to do. We'd do that off air.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Yeah.
That'd be fun. But if you can please visit Rocky Mountain Ranch Research YouTube channel and help me out, help a girl out, that would be awesome. I appreciate it.
Lady, you got a deal. We'll get you back ASAP. Okay. Katie, plug everything again so folks can come and take a look.
All right. My personal website's Katie Paige, PAIGE.net. Rocky Mountain Ranch Research with Katie Paige, YouTube channel. Again, I have a lot of videos on there, and I take you along with me as I explore and try to answer questions. And it's really Colorado relatable. So for the Colorado listeners, it's pretty awesome. And again, I'll be at Contact in the Desert end of May into June out there in California. And hopefully the fires, hopefully they get control of this really soon. And my heart goes out to all those people out there dealing with that nightmare that they're dealing with. And again, I'll be in Albuquerque April 4th through the 6th at the Alien Explorations Conference in Albuquerque, New Mexico. So and you can find all that on the Rocky Mountain Ranch Research.org website.
Adam will find you. Katie, you made the morning happen. It was more than I expected. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you a lot.
Yeah, thank you so much. Have a good day, everybody.
You too,
Great
man.
weekend.
Thank you. All right. We have jam lines, and the topic has been, wide open, but it's principally about UFOs. It's going to be 40 for a high, 33 tomorrow. It's cold, and then 32 on Monday. You want to start on line one, just to start at the top? Okay. With jam lines, we go to Carly. You're on the radio show. Good afternoon, and thank you.
Hi, I'm sorry, I missed Katie. I just wanted to say a few things here. The God versus aliens thing, I'm so interested in all this.
Oh, yeah.
But my mom and I used to talk about, she goes, well, and she was raised Catholic. I'm not Catholic. She goes, well, what about God? And I go, if God created the universe, he was able to create everyone. So I have no issue with that at all. It is what it is. Now, I think it was your first caller, I think is so disingenuous to just say everybody's imagining things and they're making it up. When you've got these highly educated, highly trained people like astronauts. I mean, I don't know if it was the first landing or what, but when they made those comments about they're watching us, you know that? I mean, you've heard that?
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, there's something there.
You know, there are questions that could be called the question. And this is one of those that are in the corral of the question. We could debate, any number of things on talk radio. Seems to be just one series of one-sided debates. And I've kind of had my fill of that, but the shows like this, and I'm not taking credit for it because Adam Walker did a wonderful job with his show, but these are prime mover questions. These are principal questions. And I know they can be made fun of, and I agree with you. We've gotten a lot of, wise guy email, text messaging as well. But again, what if it goes back the other way and says, well, there is no God, and so these things are whatever they are, or they are not. They don't mean you. They mean you. How do I say it? They don't have good intent in mind when they come and see you. And how would we be? Look what we have done, especially Europeans, as colonialists. Look what we have done in the third world during the times of great imperialism, in the times of what United Fruit did in Central America, or what was done in the Philippines, or what was done in China, what was done in Saharan Africa, Sub-Saharan Africa, China. Look what was done. And we thought, whatever we thought, is it conceivable that these beings are, they would come and they would act, if they acted like the Europeans acted, oh my heavens, it's trouble, and it's big trouble. So I don't have an answer. I mean, Terry, I generally don't. I know there's simple answers. I just don't have them.
Thanks, Peter.
You understand what I said? Doink. Okay. Look, if these things are coming with technology, when you read, the great historians and philosophers of how and why, I was talking to somebody about this yesterday. There was a British explorer whose name was Richard Burton, like the actor. And Richard Burton, quote, discovered Victoria Falls, named it after Queen Victoria. As though there were no black people, no Africans living around Victoria Falls for thousands of years. Well, they knew it was there. The Africans knew Victoria Falls was there. But it wasn't there until Richard Burton saw Victoria Falls. And then suddenly Victoria Falls was there because a white guy saw it. And if you think about, like the UFO people coming, suppose they came like we came. And, suppose they showed up in sub-Saharan Africa or in oil-rich Africa. Suppose they showed up. And they said, well, here it is. It's showtime. What are you going to do from there? All right, we go to Jim and Aurora. Jim, you're on a radio show. Good morning.
Hey, Pete, how you doing?
Hi, brother. I'm great.
Hey, I met you real briefly at Jesse Jackson and Ollie North.
Oh, that debate. Wasn't that a night?
Yeah. Hey, look,
stop for a second. I was asked to be the moderator of a debate between Jesse Jackson and Oliver North, and they threw a dinner. I brought my daughter. They threw a dinner, and Jesse Jackson came late to the dinner, but I sat next to Oliver North, and there was all these questions about Oliver North, and I asked them, and he answered them, and they're not for the radio, but Oliver North, he's half tough. I tell you that. I mean, there's all these stories about Oliver North at Annapolis because he was an Annapolis grad and chose the Marine Corps, but he fought a guy. And they still tell stories about that fight, and he's Oliver North. What are you going to do? He was packing, and but
wow,
and that's the night I met Jesse Jackson that night too. And I didn't realize how big Jesse Jackson is and how little Oliver North is. Oliver North is not a big guy. And Jackson's a big guy.
They're both interesting people, for sure.
Oh. And they had just broken the story about the drug smuggling for the Contras. We got 3 minutes. You called for a reason. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was driving west, and I can't tell you what day it was. This last year, I was driving west on Bowles between Plant Canyon and Wadsworth, and I'm going about 35, 40 miles an hour, and I saw this silver ball in the sky. And so I'm like, what the heck is that? Because it was just hovering. It wasn't moving. And I looked in my rearview mirror and looked in my right mirror to make sure there's no cars around me, slowed down and was looking at this thing, and it just bink, imploded, and it was gone. I mean, it didn't explode out. It just imploded and was gone. So, I'm telling you, and it was a perfect Colorado day, perfect blue sky, with no clouds. There were no other planes. It wasn't a helicopter. It wasn't a plane. It wasn't a drone. It wasn't a balloon. And I can't tell you how big it was, but it must have been pretty good size for me to see it, when I'm driving along at 35 miles an hour.
So what did you see?
A silver orb that just imploded and it was gone. A UFO. I don't know what it was.
No, see, that's the answer. So given all the different things that you've heard today, and I hope you've heard the whole thing, what conclusions do you come up with?
Well, the universe is beyond comprehension.
That's right.
So there has to be other life.
That's right.
Can I just say one thing about Christianity and religions?
Of course.
And the fact that Jesus was alive and died on the cross, crucified by the Romans, is true. It's the history in the Bible, Roman history. Now, whether you believe he was the kid of God or not is a religious belief. But I don't think it would change anything in religion myself. It might disrupt the religions themselves, but as far as believers, I'd still believe in Jesus, and I believe he was the Son of God. So
I don't think it's that. I think it's the culture of religion that,
right,
and individual men and women like yourself who have that, and I sense it, the true belief. That's not what it's that's not what would change.
No. Can I just say one other thing?
Absolutely.
I encourage everybody to read some Edgar Casey. He helped Edgar Casey.
I read Edgar Casey, The Sleeping Prophet.
Right, and it's helped me in my life, and just in situations and just how to be as a person.
In all these years of talk radio, I heard two names today that I haven't heard in forever: Carl Jung and Edgar Casey. I read Edgar Casey, and I read Carl Jung. Yeah.
And I'll just say this, that on the internet, there's the Association for Research and Enlightenment.
Oh, yeah.
Which is out of Virginia Beach. That's from Edgar Casey.
He was known as the Sleeping Prophet.
Yeah, I mean, there's also a biography about him called There Is a River. I'd totally recommend that.
Wow.
I'm not sure who the author was.
Wow. Wow.
Check it out.
I haven't heard Edgar Casey's name on the air in forever. You're a great call. I got to do a quick turnaround and come back and wrap this puppy up. Thank you so much. What a great show today is. Edgar Casey and Carl Jung. Do your work on that. 40, cloudy. Hang on, everybody. 710 KNUS. Better believe it. Afternoon, everybody. 710 KNUS. We're back here next week at 9 a.m. Thanks to Adam Walker. What a great show he put together. Let's go back, starting to wrap this puppy up. We go to Terry in Cherry Hills Village. Hey, Terry, thank you. You're on the show. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir. It is always good to be able to speak to you.
Thank you.
I find you very educational.
Well, you're kind.
Early in the show, you mentioned a bull that was killed on a ranch up just west of here. If you're thinking early 70s, that may have been a bull that my husband had. And it was definitely a mutilation. It was listed eventually in the Unsolved Mysteries book. And I'll tell you what, it just, to this day, it leaves me with a weird feeling in the pit of my stomach.
We may have crossed paths. Do you recall a bunch of radio geeks spending the night at that ranch?
Not offhand.
Well, because if we're talking about the same thing, and there was a lot of mutilations taking place.
Yeah.
But
well, this was up near Bailey.
Oh no, we were.
I'm thinking maybe 73.
No, we were east of Parker.
Oh yeah, no, this was up in the mountains.
No, we weren't. I mean, the place that we were at was east of Parker.
Yeah, no, a whole different world then. Yeah, I just wondered if you had, because boy, I tell you, this conversation this morning has really brought back some memories for me.
So tell me how much? Well, one cow or cattle did you lose?
It was a bull. It was a Charolais bull, and Charolais cattle are large to begin with. They're dairy beef.
Yep.
And this bull, named Omar, was not a pet. You did not walk up on this dude.
No.
He moving him from one pasture to another was a group effort, and just monster thing. And he and the cattle were out on a pasture that was right below the landowner's house. I mean, in full view.
Mm-hmm.
The salt block area, the salt blocks were set out on a sandy area. You always put them out on sand with a little bit of drainage because the salt will kill grass. So will all the cattle coming into the salt block. It had rained the night before. The only footprints in that sand were Omar's as he walked into the salt block. And then he just walked, stopped, and flat on his side, his left side, and dead.
I mean,
tongue?
Those are the stories that you hear.
This is the thing.
Yeah.
I can still see the salt block, but tongue, ear, sexual organs, the whole thing gone, smooth cut.
Yep.
Not a drop of blood in him.
Yep.
Not a blood, no blood on the sand. And eventually the carcass was drug up to what we called the boneyard, where you take all the cattle that die. And a year later, not a single scavenger had touched that thing. Not one crow.
Did you call the cops or authorities or Fish and Game or anybody?
Yeah. He had the sheriff's department up there. I mean, this is early 70s. It was still like, huh? What are you talking about? But sheriff's department was up there. They measured and took things. And like I say, it was written up in one of the Unsolved Mysteries. And the crazy thing was, about a year later, he lost a about 18-month-old steer, which usually, they go for intact animals, but it was the same routine. But back up in the woods, he found this year-and-a-half yearling with the organs missing and so forth, and nothing would touch it.
All right. So for time, what happened?
For time?
For time, what do you believe happened to that bull, to Omar?
To this day, all I can say is we spent our summer watching over our shoulders, expecting to see a black helicopter somewhere.
Remember, they said it was black helicopters for a while.
Oh yeah, they kept saying that, and it, we would be out on tractors haying, and you just kept kind of looking around and looking over your shoulder, and eventually everything died down, and and you kind of get away from it, but it's still to this day. I just
if I ask you close on time again, who or what do you think or believe did that to that bull?
I don't know. That's what's scary. I don't think it was God or anything like that, but there's government. Did they have that capability in the 70s?
I mean,
now? Yeah. I can see where with AI and so forth, I think they could do this, but how did they pull that off in the 70s?
Well, last week we did the show on government lies, and we took on.
It was good.
Exactly. And so I tell people this is personal belief. If you can do that, and if building the atomic bomb without very few people knowing, if you can pull off Vietnam, turn around and pull off the war in Central America, do MK Ultra. I mean, I can go down the list of things that this government, not our people, not our country, but the damn government. And so, if there is a hope, that change is going to do you good, like Elton John said, but these people have been deceiving us for so long. And I've lost any faith and trust that I have.
Yeah,
I really have.
That's the medical community. What I've experienced, I am interested in tracking down this Katie Paige.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry I didn't get on with her.
Well, I'll tell you what I'll do. Right now I can put you on hold, speak to Adam, and Adam will give you an email. How's that?
Oh, okay, because I've got the website and so forth.
All right. Hey, Adam, why don't you just grab her right now? Thank you for your call, Terry. Thank you. Grab that. I think I hear music. That means it's showtime. 9:00 next Saturday morning. We do it one more time. What a wonderful show this was, and a great show last Saturday. And I'll tell you what the Popeye is all about. Adam Walker, you the man. Take care, everybody. See you next Saturday at 9 a.m.